Hello everyone, this is your favorite Murtad live once again. And once again today we are going to do part 2 of our lovely live stream that we started last Saturday, the development of Sharia law and the influence of Talmud. And our chief guest is none other than Lloyd. Welcome Lloyd, praise
Hey
be to Lord.
everyone, thank you for having me here. God bless everyone. Good to see you all. Thank you.
And welcome everyone in the live stream. Jason, CT, Mark P, Ajay, and Ask the Truth. Apologetics. Good, good, good. Mark P and everyone, Barn and everyone, thank you, welcome. And we are going to get some more crowd as we keep on working with it. I know Sam Shamon actually delayed his stream an hour later, causing us to be in conflict with him. He was supposed to go live 2 hours from now before, but he went 1 hour after because CP was doing live and his live was 4 hours long. So, everything. So now we are in conflict with Sam, which I did not want it to do to begin with, but unfortunately that happened. So, with that being said, God bless you all. Let's give a small reminder of what we went through last time, Brother Lloyd, and then we can start from the heavy duty topic of today.
Yeah,
Uh,
whenever you're ready.
Brother, it's all yours, man. The mic is yours and it's all yours, brother.
Okay, so let's pick up where we left off last time. I think that's probably just good. Hey everyone, good to see you all again. And let me just put that over here so I want to see some of the screen. Okay, and StreamYard back. Right. So as you know, we were talking about the Talmud, right, and the Sharia. Now, do understand that the Talmud is something that Muslims lie about constantly. And it's also something that unfortunately many quote unquote Christians have learned those lies and repeat those lies. So this is something that I will address on my channel. I'm going to go into in extreme detail, an extreme level of detail, to discuss this and dispel those lies, because there are too many people telling too many lies about the Talmud who don't understand it. But we're here to talk about the Sharia. Now, what the Sharia did was it took from the Talmud. However, it took structure from the Talmud. It did not necessarily take any morals or any rulings. In fact, in cases where it did take rulings, it literally inverted, turned those rulings upside down. I will show one example. I'll get into that, but let's do a quick recap of what we were covering before. So should I share my screen and go ahead with that?
Yes, brother, it's all yours, man.
Okay. So let me get to my screen. So I'll do a quick recap. And if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully I'll be picking those up in the chat, and I can try and answer that as we go along.
Guys,
So,
once again, this is a recap. The first 10 minutes will be a recap of the last live stream. If you guys have already watched it, it will create a base for us and you guys, just a reminder kind of a thing, so that we could get into the meat of the subject of today. So this is a small recap, very fast. The detailed one is 2 hours long. You can watch it in the part 1. Please, brother.
all right, thanks. So what we have is you've got this Islamic empire, which within 3 years of Muhammad's death invaded something like 23 countries. So within 3 years of Muhammad's death, the religion of peace, which only makes jihad when they're attacked, invaded 23 countries. Uh, yeah, sure. So this empire then expanded. It was now very difficult to create conformity across the empire. They realized they needed the same set of rules, the same set of laws, and religion was the easiest thing to bind them to a common set of rules and behaviors. Don't forget, within Islam, there is no separation between mosque and state. What you have is the state protects the religion. The state enforces and implements the religion. Separation of church and state is something that is only known to Western law, right? So they needed to come up with a common legal system, because within each area that they lived, within the various towns and villages and regions, they were implementing local law. This law might have been derived from Greek law. This law might have been derived from Roman law. This law may have come from, I don't know, customary practices like the pagan practices of the Arabs or whatever region they might have been in. And of course, so when someone traveled from place to place, this was leading to conflict. These people were behaving and thinking and believing differently. So the scholars realized they had to create some level of conformity. Hence, they needed a single Quran, a single message, and a single set of religious laws. And hence, they decided, because Sharia was created within Mesopotamia at the time, or Iraq as we know it today, the Jews had settled in, they had established multiple very strong seminaries. So the Muslims copied what they did. And around the year 1150, they killed all the Jews to hide all the evidence. And there you go, Sharia, here you go. Right, so this is more or less what happened. So remember, the scholars state that the Muslim Ummah, the ulama, will never agree upon an error. So they all needed to agree on the same things, but it was clearly there were conflicts. So this was their means of creating conformity across the empire. They had to have an ijma. The ijma is the scholarly consensus. So they had to all effectively say the same things. Now, Muslims will tell you scholars don't agree. And according to the scholarly rulings, they do. On at least 75% of things, they are, because your four schools of fiqh are not separate religions. They cannot be seen as separate religions. So if someone says, I don't follow that school, well, that school is not a separate religion. It's still Islam. It's still Sunni Islam, or whatever it might be. So there is a level of conformity, because you never mistake a Muslim for a Buddhist, right? Although they will pretend to be Christians quite often. So if there are any questions, drop them in the chat. Just @name me. So we were
So
talking
by
about
the
the
way,
Sunnah. Yep.
sorry, brother,
Yep.
just to
Go ahead.
add to this point, as a Quran only Muslim, it's a myth. There cannot be a single person who will be Quran only Muslim.
Correct.
Because if you are a Quran only Muslim, then Quran has so many contradictions in itself that it's impossible to comprehend Quran by just Quran itself. It has contradictions, and I've done many live streams on that. Even my yesterday's live stream, when in one location Quran is saying alcohol is a sign from Allah. The other location is do not drink alcohol when you are doing your prayer. And at the third location, which is the third last surah of Quran, which is Surah Al-Ma'idah, it says drinking alcohol is a satanic act. So from the miracle of Allah to satanic act, how do you reconcile that? Right? Then you
And of
come
course,
into
in
abrogation.
paradise, the rivers are flowing with rivers of wine.
Exactly. But like that's Allah. So you have to be dead for that. And then it comes to offering prayer. You can't offer prayer because Quran does not describe the 5 prayers, how many rakas in each prayer has to be, and etc, etc, how to perform wudu, and all of these things. What is jazya, how much is jazya, how much you need to ask people to give jazya, and all these rulings, the
Yeah.
basic rulings are not in Quran. So you have to go with Quran plus something, right? They say it is Quran plus the Sunnah, because Quran also says that, like I've shown last time as well, you obey your prophet and you have obeyed Allah. So to obey Allah, you have to obey prophet. So hence you have to go by the Sunnah as well. Now if you look at the Sunnah and the Quran, then who will correlate these two? Because there are Kitabus Sitta, and each kitab has so many different volumes of it. So you have good 100+ books of the basic Kitabus Sitta as well. So some people devoted their lives to correlate these things 300 years after the death of Muhammad, where you do not even have the first Quran until then, you do not even have the Hadith books until then, and they got that and then they recollaborated it and created these Sharia, which are the essential laws to live your life, whether you are the governor or you are a person living under that governance. That's what Lloyd has given you in more technical terms. Please, Brother Lloyd.
All right. Yeah. So we're talking now a little bit about, so I'll just pick up a little bit where I left off. But if there are any questions about some of the past episode, do let me know. So the Sharia is, as I've mentioned before, the Sharia is law for Muslims. It is the perfect law of Allah. It is the example of Muhammad from the Sunnah. It is the clear commands of Allah from the Quran. These have been taken, these have then been collected, and they've been arranged in topics, right? Clear topics into these books, right? And then they've been expanded upon or applied, and the application of these laws, the explanation, the exegesis of these laws is called the fiqh. This is the men applying their intellect to understand what is going on and then saying, okay, how do we apply this example to your life in this situation? That is the fiqh. Just for the sake of ease, we're just going to call everything the Sharia. So understand, I'm not going to necessarily make distinctions between the two. It's just the Sharia. We'll call it Sharia law or Islamic sacred law, whatever makes people feel happier. Okay, because they also just call it Islamic sacred law, but it is perfect. And of course, we will discuss just how perfect this is, because today we're going to see some of these rulings. We're going to go through some of these rulings in depth, and you're going to see. So now the Sharia applies not only to Muslims, it applies to non-Muslims. Muslims are to enforce the Sharia upon non-Muslims. The fundamental doctrine in Islam is called commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. Commanding the right is the Sharia, which must be commanded. And it says to forbid the wrong. Things like Christianity are the wrong, right? We're also going to discuss the official ruling, the official orthodox view of Islam on what Christianity is. We're going to have a look at that. And it's not the same as what Christianity thinks about Islam. It's complete opposite. So Sharia is also one side. It's one half. Sharia is only one half. It's one side of the coin of Islam. The other side is called the Haqiqah. This is exclusively for the major scholars, for the saints of Islam. Those are the Sufi. Because the Sufi occupy the two top levels of the Islamic tier of knowledge, the ulama. The lower level is your normal fiqh scholars, your mujtahids, and then of course the very lowest level are your basic lay Muslims, right? So that's the ibara, the ishara, right? Your standard mujtahids. That's your good grief. What's our favorite guy? The one that told us about the holes in the narrative?
Uh,
Yasser Qadi.
wow. Yasir Qadi,
Yeah,
yes.
Yasser Qadi. And then, of course, above him and above all the other scholars are the Sufi, right? So they occupy the Lataif and the Haqqaiq levels. The
Guys,
Haqqaiq is the not. Yep.
don't confuse Sufism with this terminology of Sufi as a uh, doctorate level thing. So Sufi Islam, which is like the 19th century Islamic subsect, don't confuse that with this. Okay, FYI, please, brother.
Right. So they are the ones who contemplate the nature of God, because the Quran is the will of Allah, right? But it's not the nature of Allah. So they're the ones who seek communion with Allah, whereas everyone else is simply following the rules, right? So they simply are following the rules. And so yeah, so let's step forward. So anyway, we were talking about the Sunnah. So it was Shafi that decided that, look, the rules cannot just be man's invention. We need to have religious law that comes straight out of the Quran and the Sunnah. So what we have is uh, oh, sorry. Ask Truth Apologetics has just corrected me, and I stand corrected. He says that I've made a mistake. The highest level of scholars in Islam are the YouTube commenters. I, he is
Okay, yes.
correct. He is correct. I stand corrected. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's the 21st century thing. By the way, you actually mentioned forbidding the wrong and enjoying the right. This is the
Come
basic
on, yeah.
terminology, which is called al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. Al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. And in a Muslim country, this statement has been stated almost every day. Almost every day. You know why? That's their basic command. It comes from Quran chapter number 3, Surah Al Imran, verse number 110. And I think I showed it last time as well. So that you are the best community. Let me show that, please, brothers. You can leave your screen here. I will do the
Okay.
rest.
I was about to
All
bring
right.
it up, but it's fine. Yeah.
So this is 3:1:110. You are the best community ever raised for humanity. So imagine that. This is how Allah describes so that you could, you know, get fascinated by you. You encourage good and forbid evil and believe in Allah and believe in Allah. Bil maruf wa tantahu anil munkar. Okay? Wa tu'minu billah. And you believe in Allah. Had the people of book believed, it would have been better for them. So now, in this same very verse, Allah derogatorize the people of the book, means the Christians and the Jews as well. That they don't believe. If they had believed, it would have been better for them. But at the same time, Allah says some of them are faithful. So we are still, that's what I say always. You will not find a single Quranic verse which will denounce the Jews and Christians 100%. It will never happen. but most are rebellious. So this is how Allah describes, but the basic part is the first one. And because you are the best of the community raised, so you have to drag them to Islam. That's the basic essence of this. Abdul Wahab, Abdul
Waibnu.
Wa- Waibnu. Thank you, brother, for your super chat. Thank you. God bless you. And thanks for accepting the true Lord Jesus Christ. Please, brother, carry on.
All right, so Shafi says, look, we cannot have men's minds making up laws because then they'll deviate from the will of Allah. So we need to take the example of Muhammad and we need to make this law. So now the authoritativeness of the Sunnah was strengthened when scholars, in response to what was massive wholesale fabrication of hadiths, by supporters of various doctrinal, legal, and political positions, developed the science of hadith. Right, this was the science of determining the reliability of these traditions. So the Sunnah was used in tafsir, which is Quranic exegesis, to supplement the meaning of the text, to fill in blanks and gaps within the Quran. Sunnah was used in the fiqh, in the legal doctrine, that's the application of the Sharia, as the basis of legal rulings that were not discussed, were missing from the Quran. So Shafi, as you know, solved a critical issue. So now you've got the Sunnah, this is the habitual practice, which is this entire body of traditions, which he now said this actually forms part of our legal system. They created a common legal system to bind the Ummah, the nation of Islam, right? So now some people look to Medina for an example. Others followed the behavior of the companions, right? Whereas you had other provinces where they had different legal schools in Iraq, in Syria, in Arabia, and they all attempted to equate the Sunnah with an ideal system. So some of them leaned towards the Sunnah, some leaned towards the cultural legal systems of their region. So unfortunately, this was leading to conflict. There were different rules, different laws, different ideas, and this could not be tolerated, right? So this was all based on what was traditional in their areas and partly on precedents that they themselves had developed. So they needed a consensus. So all these varying sources, which created differing community practices, were finally reconciled in the late 8th century by the legal scholar Shafi, right? And he gave the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad the same level of authority and effectively gave Muhammad the same level of authority as Allah, as we showed in the previous show. So now, from fiqh to fatwa, this is applied legal doctrine. So fatwa is a non-binding. So the fatwa that you see on Islam QA are non-binding. It's issued by a sheikh. However, the only binding fatwa are in the Sharia, right? So now these are non-binding legal opinions or rulings given by a recognized Islamic legal specialist in response to a question posed by an individual, by a judge, or a government. So a jurist, right, issuing fatwas is called a mufti, and the legal theory of fatwa was formulated in the classical text of the principles of jurisprudence, the usul al-fiqh. And all your binding opinions are in the Sharia. Okay, yeah, guys, please make jihad on the like button. Beat it until it turns blue, okay? Right, moving on. So now, your role of fatwas. So the classical institution of fatwa is similar to what is called jus respondendi in Roman law, and it's very similar to the responsa in Jewish law. A brief aside on Jewish law within the Talmud, because I know that people have no idea what's going on in Jewish law and within the Talmud, and I will tackle this starting Sunday on my channel with Ask. So responsa is someone makes a statement, they issue, it's called challenge response. I will say, God allows you to murder. The Talmud might say something like that. God allows you to murder people you don't like. The Talmud might bluntly make a statement like that. This is not a ruling. This is not even an opinion. It is a challenge. It's responsa. And then the scholars discuss, and you could find 300, 400, 500 paragraphs of debate and discussion. Of course, people who hate Jews, many Christians hate Jews, they will read that one line and go, gotcha. It's exactly the same way that Muslims read the Bible. They make gotchas out of single sentences. What they fail to read is the entire debate and discussion where they start to say, hold on, wait, the Bible says this. Another scholar says, wait, you forgot this. And there's an incredible amount of discussion to come to an understanding of the law. That's all that happens within the Talmud. Moving on. Fatwas have played three important roles within the classical legal system of Islam: managing information about Islam by providing legal advice to Muslim populations and counseling them in matters of ritual and ethics, advising courts of law on fine points of Islamic law in response to queries from judges, and three, they must elaborate substantive Islamic law. So they have a genre of legal literature developed by these jurists who collect fatwas of prominent muftis and integrated them into books. Now, understand these books are detailed. They are all arranged in topical category. I will start to show you links in the description, please. Everything I'm using, you will find there. Notice also that your imam is not a priest. Priests are priests. Imams are lawyers. You need to understand this. Imams are lawyers. When you go to the mosque, that's a lawyer, not a priest. Okay. Now let's talk about our favorite guy, Yasir Qadi. So he's going to show us, for instance, within the law, how hadith abrogate hadith, but how hadith also abrogate Quran. So when Muslims are quoting Quran verses, these are, I'd say 99%, 98% of Quran verses are abrogated. All right, to all intents and purposes. The hadith are also abrogated by newer hadith, and the hadith also, for instance, 5 daily prayers, not in the Quran, in the hadith, for instance. How do you pray in the mosque? Not in the Quran, in the Sharia. So now there's a link to this book in the description box. This is apparently so, without a doubt, the most thorough discussion of the topic of abrogation written in this area is this book, blah, blah, blah. And this is from the book, An Introduction to the Sciences of the Quran by Yasir Qadi. Let's continue. Now, Allah has the right to abrogate any command that originated from him, either in the Quran or through the tongue of his prophet. Notice Muhammad is the same authority. And this is from the work of Shafi that made Muhammad the same level of authority as Allah. Now, these possibilities together, okay, there are 4 logical scenarios of abrogation with regards to the sources of the nasik and the mansukh, the abrogating and the abrogated. The Quran abrogating the Quran, which happens, which we know of. The Quran abrogating the Sunnah, fine. But the Sunnah also abrogates the Quran. And then you have mutawatir hadith abrogating the Quran, but you don't only need a mutawatir hadith to abrogate the Quran. And then the Sunnah abrogates the Sunnah. So understand, when Muslims start, you can find anything that are totally contradictory within the Quran, within the Sunnah. You can argue literally both sides of any argument from the Islamic texts. Do you agree, Adam?
Yes, and let me give you an example. Basically, if you look at Quran chapter number 4, verse number 24, which talks about the muta and the temporary marriages, according to the hadith of Muhammad, that verse is abrogated, because according to certain people who believes that Muhammad at the later time abrogated muta, but there are other hadiths which we see that Umar later abrogated the muta at his time by using some other thing. But once again, what I'm trying to say is simple, that a hadith which is a mutawatir means something which comes to you in tawatur. Okay, I still use the word tawatur. So
don't
too
forget,
many
according to the
times,
scholars, there's probably only 1 to 5 mutawatir hadith in the entire millions of hadith that exist.
true that. So, but like tawatur means that it is said so many times in so many narrators and etc. etc. I don't know how to write.
A mutawatir hadith is something that must be believed by you as if you were there to witness it for yourself.
And there is a narration of that is too huge, too humongous, right? So these two together becomes a mutawatir hadith. So yes, so this will actually even abrogate the Quranic verses, and we see that. At the same time, look, Quran actually talks about the timings of offering prayer, and it gives you only 3 timings to offer prayer, whereas a Muslim Sunni prayers offer 5 times a day, and they have different timings to offer different prayers. So now, if we go by the Quran, you have to do the salah 5 times, yet 3 timings are given. Where are the rest of the 2 timings? You have to go and look at the ahadith and stuff like that. So
Right.
there are so many things which Sharia as a fiqh gives you to do and implement. Please, brother.
Right. Notice also that Sunni Muslims, Sunni comes from Sunnah. A Sunni is someone who follows the Sunnah. But the moment you start pointing out the Sunnah to a Sunni, he suddenly becomes a Quranist, a Quran-only Muslim. Strange world. Right, let's continue with Yasir. So now we need to mention the ijma, right? So yes,
Yes.
Mariana. Yeah. Now, indeed, Allah will not gather my ummah, right, or Muhammad's ummah upon deviation, and Allah's hand is over the Jama'ah. And whoever deviates, he deviates to the fire. So this is Jamia Tirmidhi, Hadith 2167. So let's look at the consensus. Allah's hand is over the group. Now, of course, scholars wonder, does this mean that Allah only has one hand? Is Allah deformed? So signifying that the collectivity of the people of Islam are in Allah's fold. So be also in Allah's shelter in the midst of them, and do not separate yourselves. In other words, collect as a group. Do not separate yourselves from the consensus of the collective of Muslims. This is from the world's most popular Sharia manual, The Reliance of the Traveler, the Umdat al-Salik. Whoever dissents from the ijma of the scholars departs to hell. Any sudden Quranic Muslim, he is going straight to hell. Meaning that whoever diverges from the overwhelming majority concerning what is lawful or unlawful, on which the community does not differ, has slipped off the path of guidance, and this will lead him to hell. This is the formal ruling from the Sharia, from the law of Allah, on what happens if a Muslim does not follow the Sunnah and does not follow the Sharia. So, B 7.6. Other than the four Sunni schools of jurisprudence, okay, the others do not necessarily play a role in scholarly consensus. So only the four schools count, right? Hanbali, Hanafi, Maliki, and Shafi. That there is a scholarly consensus on it being unlawful to follow rulings from schools other than those of the four imams. We've discussed this before, but I need to reiterate.
Yeah,
It
go
is
back.
otherwise. Sorry,
Please go
yes?
back. So this is the Sunni Islam, because if you
Yes.
go to the Shia Islam, then you will have to accept Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. So,
Sunni Islam does accept Jafari jurisprudence.
but not
It is
to
accepted.
full extent, not to full extent. They
True,
just
but in
take
terms
some.
of, but for instance, if you go to Al Azhar, they do accept it as a legitimate school of jurisprudence.
Exactly, but anything that just to add to the viewers, anything that goes against these four schools, they reject it from Jafar. So yeah, so that is why they don't accept. So because you were talking about these four only, so I wanted to bring it into
Mm,
the equation as well, because if a Shia is listening, he'll be like, no, that's not Islam. Yes, so Imam Jafar Sadiq is taken into account, but wherever he contradicts or states anything different than these four, they reject it. Please, brother.
right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. I learned from you as well. This is useful for me. So the scholars, the four scholars, the four imams. Now these are the mujtahid mutlaq, the absolute scholars, the absolute masters, the absolute experts. That is what their title is. These scholars have achieved safety from textual corruption and have been able to discern the genuine from the poorly authenticated. So anything that they say is sahih, okay, or shall we say mutawatir. So, on the consensus, the proof of the legal authority of scholarly consensus is that just as Allah ordered the believers in the Quran to obey Him and Muhammad, so too Allah has obeyed the Muslims to obey those of authority, the Ulu al Amr, among them, saying, O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Prophet and those of authority among you. By implication, and but they actually do state it explicitly, these scholars have inherited the authority from Muhammad and they are to be followed as if they were speaking with these authority. Don't forget, the Quran is abrogated, the Hadith are abrogated, but the Sharia of the scholars, the Ijma, cannot be abrogated.
And yes,
Adam?
that's a very very important point over here. Quran chapter number 4 verse number 59 is hugely important because it gives the authority to the ijma. It gives the authority to the ijma. So now you have Allah, Muhammad, and the ijma of the scholars. So that is why without the scholarly consensus, without the tafsir, without the sharia, without the fiqh, there is no Islam, because Quran actually explicitly alludes to it. And that is why I say multiple times that these verses of Quran, which gives authority to these scholars, you will not find it before 300 years, after 300 years of the Muhammad's death. You won't find it. These kind of things are all there, man, because these people needed authority. So that's why you will. So where is the early
Yep.
Quran which has this? Like none. So that's the problem. And this is so scary. There you go, Quran 459. And those in authority among you, and I've done a stream in that as well. And if you disagree over things, refer it to Allah and Messenger if you believe in Allah. So these people in authority are referring you to Allah and Messenger. And the last, so this is how crazy this religion is to begin with. It gives you authority to humans, then to Allah, then to God.
Do you remember that Muslims used to say it much more often in the past, but they used to say, have you consulted a scholar? Because
Exactly.
they are told to consult the scholars.
That's a huge issue, that nowadays when these Muslim comes up, they don't proclaim scholars. Now they have Islam 5.0. they are creating a new Islam which is going against their own Quran. And in the same chapter, in 59,
Yeah.
chapter number 4, if we go to verse 80, it shifts from here. It says, obey Allah and obey Messenger, right? Now look what's going to happen. He who obeys Messenger has obeyed Allah. So now the Messenger, Muhammad, has more authority than Allah. So do you understand the shift that is happening? So here, Allah and obey Messenger and obey an authority. Here, suddenly it shifts. He who obeys Messenger has obeyed Allah. Flip. So Muhammad is on the equal level to Allah. So that is why the ahadiths are even abrogating the Quran. So that's you see where these things are moving out.
It gets very, very interesting. So hold on, I actually want to show you something. Um, let me see. Just find a reference that. Hold on, I got to find this reference now. Okay, you know what? I'll find it later. But there are actually three hadith that very explicitly. There's more than three, but there are hadith that explicitly state that a day will come when Muslims will be told the Sunnah. They will be given hadith, and they will say, "I don't follow that. I
Hmm.
follow only what is in the Quran." And this is actually a sin because these Muslims are sinning. So yeah, let's me continue. So yeah, such that when those of authority in legal expertise, the mujtahids, agree upon a ruling, it is obligatory in the very words of the Quran to follow them and carry out their judgment. The words of the scholars are obligatory for Muslims to follow. Allah threatens those who oppose the messenger and follow other than the believer's way, saying, "Whoever controverts the messenger after guidance has become clear to him and follows other than the believer's way, we shall give him over to what he has turned to and roast him in hell." A second evidentiary aspect is that a ruling agreed upon by all the mujtahids in the Islamic community, the Ummah, is in fact the ruling of the community. And the community is represented by its mujtahids, not by its constituent members, but by the mujtahids. And the community is divinely protected from error, including by Allah saying, "My community shall not agree on an error."
Go back,
Allah
please.
is not
Go
sure.
back, please. This is very important. So the rulings of the fourth school of thought, can you please repeat? They are what? They are divinely.
Divinely protected from error. They cannot make mistakes ever.
This is how Islam was there to begin with. This is how Islam was there to begin with until the 19th century. This, so if somebody comes out to you in the 20th century, and now it's 21st century, and says something different, this is what originally it was and it is. So either this idiot is saying everyone in the past were wrong, he's right, and he got Jibrail to give him the verdict. Until then, this guy is wrong, he's a liar, he's a deceiver. Please, brother.
All right. So let's continue here. Allah is not wont to make my community agree on misguidance. So, in other words, the four schools cannot be misguided. They cannot be wrong. They actually cannot be contradictory, even if they are slightly different, because the things that they disagree upon are things that are not critical to the practice of the religion or to the fundamental beliefs of the religion. They disagree on minor cosmetic issues only, technically speaking. So that which the Muslims consider good, Allah considers good. Notice, though, it doesn't say what Allah considers good, the Muslims consider good. It's what the Muslims have decided. And they have told us that the Muslims are the mujtahids. So what the mujtahids have considered is good, Allah says, no problem, you guys go ahead. Does that make sense to you, Adam?
That's what it is, man. Whether it makes sense or not, because remember, you cannot think. You have to obey and you have to submit. So, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not going to go into depth in some of those things. I can do so much more, but I don't want to be a whole night. So another hadith that the scholars quote in connection with the validity. Now notice that the hadith that survived the abrogation are quoted in the Sharia. If you want to know if a verse is still relevant, it's in the Sharia. If you want to know if hadith is still relevant, it's quoted in the Sharia. So the validity of the scholarly consensus is the following. The Prophet said, Allah's hand is over the group, and whoever dissents from them departs to hell. So the Sharia says that this is that the obviously the path of the Muslims is clear. There is no contradicting it. There is no discussion with it. There's no debate. So, meaning that whoever diverges from the overwhelming majority concerning what is lawful and what the community does not differ has slipped off the path of guidance, right? And he will be going to hell. So just a little bit, that's a little bit about the ijma. But now let's look at some of the Hebrew roots, okay, of Islam. I'm not going to do everything. This is not, but for instance, there were Christian merchants that were applying the trade routes of Arabia. So slight change of topic now. So the influence of midrashic and biblical sources has been traced in hundreds of Quranic passages, though discrepancies show that the Prophet had no first-hand knowledge of these texts. In particular, the fundamentals of Islamic faith and right, the religious duties known as the 5 pillars of Islam, have been traced by several scholars to Jewish, biblical, and Talmudic sources. Even the name Islam, meaning wholehearted submission to God, derives from a related Hebrew word used in scriptural and ritual exhortations to serve God wholeheartedly. So even the word Islam is derived ultimately from Hebrew and from Jewish practice. Now, understand, Islam did not copy the moral rulings of the Talmud. It copied the structure. I will get into some of that. I'll show you how they've literally inverted the laws, turned them upside down. So the Quranic Qalb Salim, whole heart, is found in Surahs 26:89, 37:48, 84, and it corresponds to the biblical Labab Salim in 1 Kings and in the Talmudic Modim prayer recited in Jewish worship. Okay, so Jeffrey points out that although the roots SLM is native to Arabic as to Hebrew, the noun Islam occurs in the Quran for the first time as a technical term borrowed from older religions. It comes from Christian Syriac term, meaning, which is Aramaic, devotion to God. Okay, but the Syriac term ultimately comes from the Hebrew salem, salam alaikum,
Salam.
right?
Salam.
As used precisely in this context in Jewish scripture and liturgy. So wholehearted acceptance of God. So the Leb Shalem of the psalmist, Muhammad in Islam. So this must be taken as, so the phrase, okay, anyway, but understand, so they are borrowings from, they've certainly stolen. Muhammad had no idea what he was doing, but he took whatever sounded good to him. Also, when people talk about Muhammad borrowed from Christianity, notice how much Gnostic. Now, I hate saying Gnostic Christians because Gnostic Christians are not Christians. They are anti-Christians. They are inversions of Christianity. I need to do shows on that to discuss that, because that is, Gnostic Christianity is completely the inversion. But there are numerous Gnostic scriptures that Muhammad included, Gnostic stories, Gnostic ideas. So there's a lot of correlation. Certainly there's some contradictions where Muhammad altered them, but he stole a great deal from Gnosticism and applied it into Islam. Adam, you have a point to make? I'll just
No,
give you a moment.
you are absolutely correct, and I've done multiple streams on that as well. Like Jesus speaking in the cradle, like the 7 caves, 7 people of the caves. Rather, it doesn't even say 7 because Allah was unaware. The Quranic verse actually says, and there were, some says there were 5 and 1 dog, and some says there were 6 and 1 dog, and some says there were 7 and 1 dog.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, to begin with, when people asked Allah about this whole situation, hey Prophet, can you tell us about the people of the caves? And that's what happened eventually. He didn't know, so he had to rely on that, and that's what is in Quran. And people of the cave story is running before Muhammad in the Gnostics. So there were so many stories like that. He took them, twisted them.
He did. Yeah, well, that's something to discuss one day. So there are linguistic and conceptual parallels between the Quran and what is known as the Jewish Mikra. I'll get into some of these words as we go forward. So these are both divine revelation, and Muslims were living, especially when they invaded Iraq and the Sharia started to get developed, Islamic law was developed. What you had was a mixing of the two. They started borrowing from the Jewish scholars because they were living right next to multiple major Jewish seminaries. So Arabic was their mother tongue, but Jewish scholars in Muslim lands often wrote in Arabic because they lived in Arabia or they lived in Arabic countries, right? Or they translated the Hebrew writings into Arabic, right? Even when discussing the Jewish scriptures. So in the 10th century, there was a scholar who, Gaon, and of course they basically co-opted all of the material that he developed within his seminary, and then they just killed all of them and then just hid the evidence. In his treatise on the 70 hapax legomena of the Mikra, a Jew, right? This is one of the major Jewish scholars who ran the biggest seminary, the biggest Jewish seminary, right, in the region at the time. He used the term Quran to denote Jewish scripture. Jewish scripture. He called it the Quran in his book, because Quran just meant to proclaim. or the writing. There was different, but understand. So the Quran was used first by a Jew to talk about Jewish scripture. So now that you have a link between this Quran and Mikra as the first root of law is seen also in parallel terminology for the two revelations as holy writ. So the Quran frequently calls itself al-Kitab, literally the writing, and it uses the same term in this book to denote the Hebrew scripture. So in fact, but the Quran also utilizes al-Kitab. So they were originally the same. Al-Kitab could mean the Quran, al-Kitab could mean, so which one is the book? When it says al-Kitab, well, do they mean, and we are the people of the book. So, Adam, any thoughts?
Brother, you are already demolishing it, but you demolish it with such nice voice that it doesn't seem like demolishing. You have so much information. You just read it through, man. So even the word Quran is taken from the Jewish uh, scriptures, or later on written scriptures, and their proceedings and their laws and stuff like that. So uh,
Yeah.
it's crazy how you would see that Qur'anan, Mubinan, and etc. is written in Quran multiple locations. And literally, if you just translate that word and say recitation, and not take it as the word, you will realize that wow, like, because that word has a meaning which means reading or recitation. That's just
Yeah,
crazy, you
I
know.
believe there's even, we'll get to it, but it even means to proclaim. And as you know, to proclaim the good news, to proclaim so this was also a very Jewish sort of idea. So I'll continue. So now you've got these broken chains, right? These broken isnad chains. So the Sunnah came to mean the practice of the Prophet as the norm for establishing extra-Quranic legal rules, right? So this is rules outside of the Quran. So Muslim jurists began to trace these rules back to the Prophet. Okay, that's where you get these isnads, these chains of transmission, right? And they trace them as far as possible in supposed unbroken chains of tradition. However,
And guys, is it me or Lloyd is disconnected? Somebody is disconnected. Oh, I think it's Lloyd. So I think he can join us back as soon as his internet gets back. So there is a problem on his side because I can hear my voice. Yes, Lloyd is DC for now. So guys, yes, while I'm here, let me show you what I was saying when before Lloyd's come back. Uh, so I was showing this. I was stating about this while Lloyd's can come back. So when, like, imagine Muhammad was such a copycat that he did not even knew that how many people were in the cave. He just heard that story and he proclaimed that story. Now that he proclaimed that story, what happened, was that people asked Muhammad, hey Muhammad, how many people were in the cave? You know, and the verse from the Jibrail came to Muhammad. And imagine how did this verse from the Jibrail came to Muhammad? It says, they, i.e., people, will say there were three, the fourth was being the dog. They will say there were five, the sixth being a dog, guessing at the unseen. And they will say there were seven, and the eight of them was their dog. Say, O Muhammad. Now, say, O Muhammad. Now, Muhammad should say, hey, they were X many, and that was a dog. But you know what Muhammad said? My Lord is most knowing of their number. None knows them except a few. Okay, which few? You idiot. Tell us which few. That was the question. That is the question that we are asking. Which few? So do not argue except the obvious of argument. So this is how stupidly copy pasted Muhammad was, that he didn't even know what he was saying. This is how stupidity it is when he was copy pasting. And I think Lloyd is back. Brother Lloyd is back. Let me add him
I
to the
have
stream.
no
Hey, Brother Lloyd.
idea. Yeah, my apologies, guys.
And yes, Allah knows best. No worries, brother. So I was showing the issue in the copy paste that Muhammad didn't even know the numbers. He didn't even proclaim the numbers because he just heard it from XYZ guy. And then he said it. And then people said, okay, how many people were in the cave? And that's what happened.
Right, right. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. Yeah, system hung. I just had to reboot.
No worries,
I
brother.
have no idea. It looks like someone doesn't want us to do these streams, Adam.
Oh, that's Jibrail maybe, brother. The Jibrail of Allah, you know.
That is possible. I Good grief. Okay, so anyway, I'm back, and sorry about that, folks.
No worries.
Let me
So
just
this
get
is the
back to my.
seven sleepers of Ephesus, if you guys already know that. So this story was running way before Muhammad. This
Right.
story, and everyone knows this is a story which is from 250 AD, somewhere around that particular time, and they are called seven sleepers of the Ephesus. And everyone knows that it was a story for kids to, and that's it. Like it's a mythical story,
Yeah.
brother. Carry on.
Folktales. Yeah. Sorry. So this is where I crashed. So now these isna, these change of transmission that Muslims use. In other words, the system of broken telephone. I mean, that's a game that doesn't work. So they copied this from the Jews. So this was precisely what Talmudic sages had done with the Jewish oral law. The second century editors of the Mishnah had made a point of including a blanket chain of tradition all the way back to Moses. Pardon me. So the Jews had basically made chains of transmission back to their sources. And the Mujtahid said, well, hey, this is a great idea. Let's do the same. Let's just make it up as we go along. As I showed in the first video we did, the first session that we did, the scholars, Western scholars have studied this, said that most of these chains of transmissions are totally fabricated. Anyone could make them. So the principle is the same. They copied the idea of the chains of transmission from the Jews as well. Moving forward. So now, for instance, here's an example from the Talmud. Moses received the Torah from Sinai and transmitted it to Joshua, and Joshua to the elders, and the elders to the prophets, and the prophets transmitted it to the men of the great synagogue. And the tractate goes on to add further names of transmitters through the generation down to the redaction of the Mishnah. So this this concept was already there with the Jews, and they simply just borrowed it and said, hey, this is a great idea. Let's do the same thing. So
Let's do the
now
copy
moving.
paste in the chain of narration.
Yes, 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 same thing. Because hey, it was good for the Jews, right? And they want, remember, they believe that they are the descendants of Abraham, that they are the replacement. I will talk about the Orthodox view of the replacement of Christianity by Islam, right? And of Judaism by Islam, and you'll see why they were doing this. So the Talmudic influence on Sharia, so little attention has been paid to relationship between Islamic and Jewish law. So they have a certain shared religious framework. There are certain ideas, and there's a certain theocratic approach. Don't forget, however, Judaic law has changed significantly. In fact, it adapted and changed continuously. Sharia is eternal, it can never change. Once a ruling's been made, it can never change, it will never change, because these are the rulings of Allah and Muhammad. The fiqh can adapt, certainly. For instance, traffic fines. What if, what speeds do you decide? Allah didn't make any rulings on that. Cell phones. Allah didn't make any rulings on that. Understand? So there will be adaptations made, but the Sharia can never change. The Jewish law does change. Anyway, so you've got a
So just
separation
to
of
add
church.
to this
Yeah.
point, some people actually says that Sharia is the word of humans and hence it can change, and they proclaim it to our Christian brothers and sisters. So brothers and sisters, please understand, when they are talking about Sharia can change, they are talking when they add the Sharia and the fiqh together and proclaim it as one word. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why they actually say Sharia can change. But if you know that Sharia by itself, the book Sharia book that you actually can buy, it has the ruling of the fiqh in it as well as the Sharia. So Sharia is derived from the Hudud Allah, and the Hudud Allah are transmitted from Quran and the Ahadith of Muhammad. They cannot be changed. That's what Lloyd is saying. Sharia, which is written by these four scholars as mujtahideen, it cannot change. The fiqh part in the Sharia book that you read, that can change, and that has constantly been changing, because that does not confine to the hudud Allahs, which is given from the Prophet or by the Quran. So that is why when Lloyd is saying Sharia cannot change, he is not mixing the two. He has already described and explained there is a fiqh part and then there is a Sharia part. Common normal Muslims do not really know the difference between the fiqh and the Sharia. So the Sharia part cannot change. Please, brother.
All right. Yeah. Um, yeah. Just give me a second. Let me do something here. No, that's not
And I
finding
think you
it.
need to change your microphone as well. This microphone has background noise, FYI.
Let me fix it. Yeah, sorry. When I rebooted it, let me fix that first before I go on.
No worries, all good. So yes, so we are expanding and we are giving you the knowledge, guys, which most of the Muslims don't even know. FYI, most of the Muslims are unaware of these things, and that is why when they proclaim to you guys, most of them don't even know. But when you talk with Uban Fiban Farooq and this kind of guys, they know this, so they lie. They lie like I don't know what do you call it in America, a white lie, or what is the term for absolute lie in America?
It's good grief. Um, no, they're lying. They know this stuff, and it's embarrassing to them. That's why none of them will ever meet me to talk about the Sharia. Let me show you this. The
Just
Prophet said, "Let."
zoom a little, please, brother. Sorry.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
problem is, let me just make this narrow. I can't make this narrow, so this is as much as I can zoom in.
Okay.
The Prophet said, "Let me not find you reclining on your couch when you hear something regarding me, which I have commanded or forbidden." And this would mean the Sunnah, right, within the Hadith, and saying, "We do not know. What we found in the Quran, we have followed." In other words, Muhammad himself is saying here in this Hadith by Abu Dawud, you need to follow what is in the Sunnah, not just what is in the Quran. He then says again, a Hadith will be conveyed to a man while he's reclining on his couch, and he says, "Between us and you is Allah's book. What we find in the Quran that is lawful, we consider lawful, and whatever we find that is unlawful, we consider unlawful." Okay. Indeed, whatever the messenger of Allah made unlawful, it is the same as what is in the Quran, as what Allah has made unlawful. So understand, in these hadith, it is made very, very clear that what Muhammad says is law. He may as well be Allah.
And
Thoughts?
that is why Muslimin also says that Muhammad never stated something without the permission of Allah, which we can prove that it's wrong. But once again, they claim that whatever Muhammad spoke, he spoke by the divine revelation of Allah. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you, brother, for showing these two hadiths as well.
Yep. Okay, so moving forward. So now, within Islam, so human reason plus divine revelation, but human reason modified, shaped, limited by divine revelation is, according to Islam, the only path to law. So Islam denies that law can be created purely by human legislation. That's why they want Sharia for the world, right? Now, a Western theory of law says, look, human minds can come up with examples. Now, the Talmud was completed around the time of Muhammad's birth. The Quran is not a comprehensive code of law. It is very limited. It has few legal provisions. It has so what you had was indigenous law, right? This was in effect in various cities and towns and regions, and they would only not follow it when there was something that was clear in the Quran saying don't do that. Now, Islamic jurisprudence dates to about 100 years after Muslims, so Sharia and fiqh only dates to about a century after Muslims invade Mesopotamia in 637. Of course, as you know, the Iraqis all invaded Saudi. Sorry, no, the Saudis the Muslims just invaded everywhere. They were never invaded. Understand? So when the area was renamed Iraq, right? So scholars concur that Mohammedan jurisprudence originated in Iraq. That's from Shaht Origins, 1950, page 190. So let's have a look. What else can we plagiarize today? In comparing the Sunnah to the Mishnah, we find a fascinating and seemingly unremarkable coincidence. Both systems of oral tradition are known as the six books. So you have the Kitab al-Sitta, the six correct books in Islam, and you have the same within the Talmud. So you have the six orders of the Mishnah, and they are commonly referred to in the Talmud simply as the six orders or the six books. In the Sunnah, the designation of precisely six books has no reason, because within the Talmudic law, there's a reason why they have six books. They've got these six divisions, but there is absolutely no reason why these six within Islam, why this needs to be this way. Six, they simply copied it because the Jews did it, because they wanted to be the new Jews. So when you talk about replacement theology, Islam is the ultimate replacement theology. It has replaced Judaism and it
Wow.
has replaced Christianity.
Wow.
So now,
Sorry to cut you short. I didn't know
sorry,
that. I did not know that. I did not know that. So even the Kitab Sitta, the term, wow, brother, thank you so very much. That's
you're welcome.
eye-opening. So the Kitab Sitta is also derived from the Jewish tradition of the six books.
Yes,
Amazing, man.
Copy
Amazing.
paste
Please.
religion, right?
Oh, yes. Copy paste.
So
Man,
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So there were at least a dozen early collections of hadith. Now understand, there are hadith collections you and I have never heard of. Let me be clear, there are hadith collections we have never heard of. There's one very famous one that is used extensively that is barely been translated, the Kanz al-Ummal, right? Because few people realize that there is a huge volume of Islamic literature that is not in Arabic, it's in Urdu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, understand there's a massive volume. And so people say, well, no, you're forgetting that at least half of the stuff is in Urdu. So, and understand, remember, Shafi and all those, if you add the six major collections, you've got about 20,000 hadith. Don't forget, between those six first authors, they distilled about 2 million hadith to make 20,000. So roughly 1% of the hadith were considered authentic. 99%,
Or
nine,
thrown in the
two,
garbage.
yeah, 1,980,000 were considered false. That is crazy. They say, look, oh, Matthew says the sun rose at 4, and the other one says the sun rose at 4:15. Oh, these gospels are fake because look, they're contradictory. Well, literally 99% of the hadith are considered false, but Islam is legit, buddy, legit.
So
No,
legit,
no,
man.
stupid. Okay. So moving on, Iraq again. So there's the insistence on restricting the number six. Okay, this insistence on restricting the number to six books is found only in Eastern and not Western Islam. You're looking at Iraqi Islam, not Saudi Islam at the time, right? So in precisely the geographic region where 9th century Muslims were most likely to know about the Jewish Mishnah, because they were sitting right next to these major Jewish scholarly schools, there you've got this division into six books. Now, the scholar Goldziher rejects parallels between the Mishnah and Sunnah. Okay, and he calls this fable, but provides no reason. So that, okay, let's skip that. That's not important now. So I want to go into a couple of things. I want to talk about a couple of Islamic rulings so you can see this is the law of remarriage. Okay, we're going to look at the Torah versus the Sharia, the Jewish law versus the Sharia. So it says here in the laws of marriage of Islam, the divorced wife is only remarried after another marriage. So if there's an irrevocable divorce, 3 talaqs, you've now irrevocably divorced her, she must marry another man and she has to have sex with him. Okay, he has to, okay, only then he must divorce her, and then she can go back to her previous husband. When a free man has pronounced the threefold divorce, the divorced wife is unlawful for him to remarry until she has married another husband in a valid marriage and the new husband has copulated with her, which at
Uh,
minimum means that the head of his penis fully enters her vagina.
yes. So for that, I have a video done long time ago.
Yeah.
This is called halala marriage, or the person who does this marriage is called. I'm shared the link.
I
Is
do need to
called
let you know that the person that does this to the woman could be a boy who's 9 years old. It's legal.
exactly
In
because
fact,
that's
he
the
could be
age.
younger than 9. He could be younger.
As long
But it
as
is,
his penis is
as
standable.
long as he can get it up and get it
Yes.
in, he
Yes.
can do this for her, even if he's a minor. Understand
Exactly.
this.
Exactly. Because like there is nothing called minor. As long as he has the thing standing and he can taste the juice of the woman, that's how
Yep. Yeah.
Muhammad described it.
That's in the Hedaya, Volume 1. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's in hadiths as well. I have shown that. I
It's in
have
the
given the
Sharia.
hadiths. Yeah.
It's in the
Uh,
Sharia. Yeah.
oh, and it's in the hadiths. Sharia, as like I said, Sharia is always taken from the hadiths and Quran. As long as he can taste the juice of the woman, he can. So now what I'm saying is that the this is the link, you can go and forward, but this actually goes against Deuteronomy chapter number 24.
I was about to get to that. So let me
Please,
go
brother.
there quickly. So now if you look at Deuteronomy chapter 24, a man takes a wife and possesses her. She fails to please him because he finds something obnoxious, and he writes her a bill of divorcement, hands it to her, and sends her away. She leaves his house and becomes the wife of another man. Then this man rejects her, gives her a divorce. The first husband who divorced her shall not take her to wife again, since she has been defiled, for that would be abhorrent to the Lord. You must not bring sin upon the land. This is the Jewish law. Now, of course, too many Christians, and I need to emphasize this again, claim that Islam is disgusting. Yes, whatever, but so is the Talmud. This is the Talmudic law. If you have another one, please show it to me. I'd love to see it. Give me a clear reference. But this is the Jewish law. This is the exact opposite
Yes, it is the
And
exact opposite, and it is very bad. And by the way, Murtad ex-Muslim, it's called muhallal. The person who does that is called muhallal. The marriage is called halala marriage, and muhallal and halala marriage. So you can watch the live stream that I've done. I've shared the link in the live chat. And yes, it's absolutely opposite to the Talmudic law and to the, because it is in the Quran, Surah An-Nisa. It is in the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, that if you divorce a woman, she has to have effing tinkah zowja. He has to do the effing eh, after marriage to another person. And the hadiths are so clear that the person has to taste the juice of
mhm.
the other woman. That's like this juice. Imagine juice. The word is used juice or honey. That's how derogatorily it has been written. And I've shared the link to go in details. Please, brother.
Right, moving on. Right, so now I want to. Sorry, let me just fix this slide. My
Mm,
bad.
I like
Sorry,
this car, man. Can I have it?
sorry.
No worries.
So,
The car was good,
the
man.
car. Oh, this is what I owned when I lived in Dubai.
Oh,
That was
you
that was that
fancy
was
man.
oh that was many years ago. Unfortunately, I'm not in the same position today. So, now let's talk Talmud versus Sharia. Refer to notes. Okay. So, anywho, now let's have a look at some similarities. Okay, the Torah is known as the written law. It is also referred to by the Jews as the Qur'an. In Now, the Quran was also known as the Qur'an, meaning to proclaim. The Korah, the Qur'an. Do I need to say
Mm-hmm.
anything, Adam?
No, no.
Now, the Jewish law is interpreted and expanded in the Talmud. Okay. Now, of course, Islamic law is interpreted and expanded in the Sharia. Now you've got the oral tradition, the Mishnah, which was also known as the Sunnah, and of course you've got the Islamic law known as the Sunnah.
Sunnah. Sunnah
Sunnah,
versus
Sunnah.
Sunnah.
Just a sheer coincidence, right? Just a coincidence, I'm
Uh,
sure.
really?
You've got the six books, okay, and you've got the six books, right? Then you've got the Hadith. Now, the S of the Jewish language, the Hebrew, is Arabized to ta in in Arabic. So you have the Hiduth or the Hadath, right? Hidus, Hadath, which became Hadith
Because there is
in
no
Arabic.
S sound in Arabic. There is no sa in Arabic.
Yeah,
So, and that is why when we talk about Urdu, you actually have a sa as well. So please.
all right.
So
So
some
you've got the Hiduth, right, which became Hadith. Hiduth, Hadith, Hiduth, Hadith. No similarity whatsoever. Absolutely no similarities. Then you've got the Hakol, which is known as the Ijma, the consensus, right? Then you've got the Hekesh, which is the Qiyas. Then you've got the Halacha, the legal doctrine, the law of the Jews, right? The Jewish law, right? Then, you, of course, this is called the Fiqh in Islam, but you have a Halakha. So you've got the Halakha, the
halakha.
legal doctrine, and then you've got the Halakha in Arabic, which is the place of legal education.
Man,
Sheer
is there
coincidence.
anything they did not copy?
Very little they didn't copy. You've got the Midrash, which we know as the Tafsir. Then you've got the Baraita, which is, I think we know as the Asbab al Nuzul,
Asbabul
right?
Nuzul, because
Story.
the stories. So every Quranic verse has a story behind it. So Asbabul Nuzul means reasoning of the verse to come down. So you will have the story for the verses, and that's what Bitrash. Please pronounce the word.
Right. So you've got Baraita. Baraita.
Braita. That's what Braita is. The stories behind the revelations or
Then
scripture.
we
Sorry.
have the Tosefta, right? Which we would know, I think in Islam is called the Shar. These are additional commentaries on the Tafsir.
Exactly, because there are tafsirs over tafsirs. So
Right.
that's it.
And in fact, there are tafsirs over tafsirs over tafsirs over tafsir. But yeah. But anyway, then of course, it doesn't stop there. Let's continue. Then the word halal. Let's look at the Jewish word halal. A halal in Leviticus is a priest that is disqualified from the priesthood, one who is not pure and therefore cannot be a priest. That's what halal is in the Jewish law.
Hmm.
So halal is pure in Islam, but it's impure in Judaism. It's
Oh,
the exact
that's a
opposite.
flipping. Yeah, that's a flipping.
Yes, it's the exact opposite. Halal. So it
Interesting.
means you're in. Yeah. So these are just things that are understand. So halal in Jewish law is they shall be holy to their God and not profane the name of God, for they offer the Lord's offerings by fire, the food of their God, and they must be holy. Which means in Islam it's the exact inversion. And also a priest shall not marry a woman defiled by harlotry, nor shall they marry one divorced from a husband, for they are holy. Their wives must be pure. But that's a story for another day. I need to get
But
into
like
that.
that's what Muhammad said. Why did you not marry a virgin so that you could have fun with her? That's
Yes,
a
but he
hadith,
was
man.
talking. Yeah, I know, but that's a story for another day. I need to do some stories on. I need to do shows on my channel about the Talmud, about people's misconceptions, because man, they've got that thing so wrong. I know a lot of you think I'm wrong, but seriously, I'm going to embarrass a lot of you once I get to that, because you have no idea what you're talking about. Right now, some basic Sharia doctrines. Let's start getting into actual some rulings, some meat again. Two major doctrines within Islam. You have in Islam, you've got extremists and moderates. No, you don't. Moderates can become extremists when instructed to do so. You
When
actually have
required.
when required, yes, and there are rules. There are very clear rules about it. So you have azima and rukhsa. Rukhsa is basically many words: dispensation, relaxation, right? Azima is strictness, doing the thing as it must be done. So those crazies who yell Allahu Akbar and start stabbing people on bridges, they are proper Muslims following the doctrine of azima, following Islam correctly, right? Those who are not doing that are simply following the doctrine of rukhsa. Both of them are receiving reward from Allah because both are following Islamic doctrine correctly. The others are just slightly weaker, right? However, they may be required under Islamic law to flip and follow azima. So these are legal terms, and they refer respectively to the application of a commandment in Islamic law in its original force and to its replacement with a less severe alternative in cases of need. Okay, so
Hmm.
rukhsa means facilitation or alleviation. It's a technical term, and it's a special dispensation which allows you not, in other words, you can break literally every single law in Islam because you're allowed to. Okay,
You,
so yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Because let me tell you why. Because if you do not do that, then Muhammad was a false prophet to begin with. Because when he was in Makkah and have not migrated into Medina, and the verses of sword was not revealed, then he was a liar and a kazab. But so they have to defend that by saying when you are under some other ruler, you can lie and deceive and break any law. So let me tell you in essence, even the sheikh under certain pressure, he will drink alcohol with you. He will even drink alcohol with you, and he might even eat pork with you. They can break any law they want
Mhm.
because it is required at that particular time and it's no sin upon him. Please, brother.
So there are no absolutes in Islam, and in fact, there's a specific doctrine called hiyal. The granddaddy of lying in Islam, the granddaddy of deception, is a legal practice called hiyal. It's known as legal trickery. It is the basis. So rukhsa is fundamental to the permission to deceive within Islam, to violate every law for advancement of Islam. But the specific doctrine, the practice that is the granddaddy of all forms of deception in Islam is called hiyal, Hiyal. That's the plural. You have hila as singular. Hiyal allows you, it's the skill, it's a knowledge set. It was refined by the year 805. The first books on it had already been written and published, and there's about 800 techniques that they teach, which explain exactly how you can break any oath, any promise, any contract, right? So that
Because
you
Muhammad
violate.
al
Yep,
Sorry,
yep.
brother. Sorry to cut you short. Please
Mm.
finish your sentence first.
No, so you can break any oath. So technically, you are obeying the letter of the contract, but you can break the spirit. Or anyway, you can break any contract, and it teaches you how to use verbal trickery, legal trickery, verbal sleight of mouth to break literally any contract, any oath, any agreement, any promise. Go on.
Exactly. And it is so clear that Quran actually asked Muhammad to break his own promises at least 3 times. One time with his wives. With his wives that he did the promise that I will not do the effing with the slave woman. Second time with the mushrikeen because according to the people, according to the hadiths, the mushrikeen first did that. But okay, if they did that, what gives you the right to do that? Allah said you can break it. So even when a person says, by Allah, I will never do this to you, trust on their sacred law, which says that the promise that you did to a mushrik who does not believe in Allah and the last day, they can change it anytime. And that is why when they swear on Bible in America or in Europe, they know they are not swearing on anything. They are not swearing on anything.
Mhm.
They don't care. So that is why they swear on the Bible in the America and Europe and say, okay, we will be faithful to this country, and then they do that boom boom. Dude, that's exactly what is allowed, and it's not just allowed, it's their law. Please, brother.
Yeah. Taker, you asked why. Yeah, I was I was at a game park when I took that photo of the African elephant. Yeah, I'm South African. Yeah. So just to answer your question. Okay, so moving on. Now, you need to know about something called darura. Darura is necessity.
Mm.
So, okay. Now, the legal schools agree that now necessity is what you think it is, that you can make it up. It's necessary to lie. I feel threatened. I mean, that is entirely subjective necessity. Understand? This legal schools agree that prohibitions of a religious character may be disregarded in cases of necessity.
Mm.
Offenses committed under the rule of necessity are excused with no punishment.
That's where takayya comes in. So
Yes.
you see, that's so people, uh, guys, most of you actually proclaim takayya, 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 the word, and the Muslim will say, no, 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 it is only when you are persecuted and all. So yes, this is the location where takayya comes in, and I fixed so many Christians do not use the word takayya. They can actually, with the takayya is a technical term, don't use that every time. They can just simply lie, they can break the oath, they can do everything when they are
Yeah.
talking to a non-Muslim, because it doesn't, you as a non-Muslim are an insect or below the insect. And I have
Yeah.
done a live stream which which states, how does Quran calls non-Muslimin. So you can go and watch that. But this is what it is. Learn the
Yeah.
reality. Do not proclaim the wrong words with the Muslimin so that they can backfire on you. Don't
Yeah. I
proclaim the
should
wrong
get.
word.
Yeah, I can do a
Hmm.
show on that, discussing the chosen people idea between Judaism and between Islam, and they're totally different. Look, folks, understand, I'm not a Jew, right? I have no dog in this fight, but understand, I do object to quote unquote Christians who lie about what's in the Talmud. I have no idea what they're talking about. They've been lied to and they're repeating lies. The Noahide law,
Exactly.
I'm going to do a show on the Noahide laws on Sunday. It is far more detailed than you know. Understand? So yeah, I mean, feel free, but for those of you who've been lying, understand, I'm going to be doing the very same in far more detail on the Talmud. So moving forward, guys.
Just
Now,
one more point for this.
yeah,
Guys, I have shared the link of Lloyd channel. It's on my screen as well. It's on the live chat as well. I've shared it 3 times. Let me share it once again. Please subscribe to Lloyd, and he needs our support as much as he can. Secondly, once again, none of us are Jew. None of us are supporting Jews. Remember that. None of us are Jew. Both of us are not Jews. Both of us are not supporting Jews. They are against the Lord Jesus Christ. We are not supporting them, but we are only showing what is the truth, whether it is about Islam or Jewishism or Christianity.
mhm,
We are only showing what is right and truth, because our Lord said, say it right. And as a Muslim, you can even say that I'm a non-Muslim and perform taqiyya in when you have a sword on your neck. But as a Christian, if you deny the Lord Jesus in this world, he will deny you there. So we are ready to die and proclaim Lord Jesus Christ. That's who we are. Please, brother.
right. No, thank you. Yeah. So the most fundamental doctrine in Islam, as I mentioned, is commanding the light, the right, and forbidding the wrong. So let there be a group of you who call to good, commanding the right and forbidding the wrong, for those are the successful. So understand, when the crazy guy goes off on the bridge and kills people, right, there must only be a group, a small amount. It is required, it is obligatory that a small amount of Muslims go and do these things. Otherwise, the sin of non-performance falls upon the entire ummah. So now let's understand, all of a Muslim's words, according to Islamic tradition, all of a Muslim's words count against him. They count as sin. So all of a human being, and when they say human being, they don't mean you because you are not a human being.
Yep.
Okay? All of a human being's words count against him and not for him, except commanding the right and forbidding the wrong, and the mention of the name of Allah. Right? So if you are commanding the right, if you are trying to make Islam supreme, taqiyya, to make Islam win and to defeat the evil infidel, the evil Christians, this is command. Remember, if a Muslim lies, right, but he's trying to keep the peace, as we discussed in the previous show, we discussed lying. We showed you the rulings on lying. If, which obligatory lying, remember, obligatory lying. Muslims must, they have no choice, right? So if he lies to keep the peace, it is not considered lying. So all of a human being's words count against him and not for him, except when commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. That's in the Sharia, quotes the same. So one should know, commanding the right and forbidding the wrong is the most important fundamental of Islam. It is the mission that Allah sent the prophets to fulfill. If it were forgotten, religion itself would vanish, dissolution would appear, and whole lands would come to ruin. So if there were no Islam and they weren't commanding the right and forbidding the wrong through jihad, okay, then the earth would perish. So let's have a look. Okay, the first section is sacred knowledge. That's Gnostic knowledge, right? That's Gnosticism. Now you've got here section O. You've got section Q, justice and commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. It's a major section within the Sharia. All right, commanding. Okay, so there are communal obligations, so different kinds of obligations. You have Fard al-Ain and Fard al-Kifaya. A communally obligatory act is what the lawgiver, that's Muhammad or Allah, they're both the same, requires from the collectivity of those morally responsible. If someone does it, then the obligation has been fulfilled, and the sin of not doing this is lifted from the rest of the Muslims. The entire nation of Islam falls into sin and could end up in hell if they do not do jihad, if they do not do those things which we consider extremism. While if no one undertakes it, then all are guilty of serious sin for neglecting the obligation. These are the communal obligations. There are individual obligations as well, of course, like the 5 daily prayers, but there are communal obligations, and a small minority, like that crazy small minority, are obligated to do it.
Okay.
So,
Before you
yeah,
go, before you go,
sure.
I have shown you a couple of verses already. Let me show you one more. The Sahih Alin Munkar. Alal khair ya'marun bil munkar wa yanhu anil ya'marun bil ma'rufi wa yanhu anil munkar. And let there be from you a nation inviting to all good, enjoying what is right and forbidding what is wrong. So this is Quran chapter number 3, verse number 104. Now the problem over here is that, as we have described in our last session, and Lloyd was very clear, and we spent maybe 5 minutes on that, that according to a Muslim, you have no right to think what is right or wrong. What is right and what is wrong? It's written in the Sharia, which is taken from the Ahadith and the Quran. So you cannot think, you have to submit fully and obey, and then you have to spread it. And the Ahadiths are so clear that you have to drag people with chain around their necks and bring them to the Sahih. Okay, and this is Quran, and that's what our brother Lloyd is showing you. Please, brother, you
Right.
like what I'm saying is that my brother Lloyd over here is not saying anything which is in Sharia, which is net cannot be correlated to Quran and Hadith, because Sharia is all about Quran and Hadith. Please, brother.
Right. So, commanding the right, forbidding the wrong. So let's have a look at what is this fundamental, the major doctrine, the most important doctrine of Islam. Jihad is a subset of commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. Okay, jihad's a subset of that. Let's have a look. It is a communal obligation, and there are levels of performance. Censure means, well, you could think of it maybe as punishment, but let's have a look. So there are levels of or degrees of severity in commanding the right. First, you have to know, of course, the wrong act. So you need to go to your school and learn what is right and what is wrong. Remember, the Sharia tells you what's right and wrong, not your moral conscience. 2, you need to explain to the person you're dealing with that something is wrong. Then you must forbid the act verbally. Then Islamic law requires, and the Islamic religion requires, you need to censor with harsh words. Now, they explicitly say you have to verbally abuse that person. So when Muslims start to swear and start to shout and start to insult, This is commanded upon them as righteous behavior. It is the correct thing to do. It escalates. The next thing is to right the wrong by hand, which is politely saying, give him some of this. Then intimidation. What's very interesting is that intimidation comes after actual force. First force, then intimidation, whatever. Then Islam requires assault. It's the religion of assault. And then assault means that if you can't do it, get friends. And then if you and your friends can't do it, get weapons. Use arms. This is Islam. Muslims are taught this is the right way. So let's have a look. The Prophet said, if any one of you sees a bad thing, let him prevent it by his hand, break things, slap people. If he cannot do it, let him prohibit it by his tongue. And if he cannot do that, let him cherish hatred for it in his mind. This is the weakest faith. So in other words, if you want to be a good Muslim, prevent things with your hand. Do this non-verbally. Hint, hint. So commanding the right and forbidding the wrong outranks even jihad in reward and in value. From Ghazali in the Ihya Ulum al-Din, which is the most important Islamic scriptural resource after the Quran, the most read and most popular, all good deeds and jihad in the way of Allah are nothing but a puff of breath in the deep sea in comparison with enjoining good and prohibiting evil. So the reliance, and I'll pause here for a moment, the reliance spoke of the weakest degrees of faith, but Ghazali calls it outright jihad. Okay, so the jihads of your hands, you see, the scholars have translated this very politely as do use your hand, but Ghazali, the most important scholar in all of Islam after Muhammad himself, even more so than the four Imams, he calls it the jihad of your hands and the jihad of your tongue and the jihad of your heart. Adam.
Yes, so I have done multiple live streams on that because our current US president actually proclaimed this hadith. And he said, if you see an evil, stop it by your, let me see if I can find that right now. Okay. You are already showing it. Okay. This is, so I've done a multiple live streams on that. So if you see an evil, stop it by your hand. If you can't stop it by your hand, stop it by your tongue. And if you can't stop it by your tongue, at least know it by your heart that it is evil. And this is the lowest level of faith. The what's the name of the current US president, brother? I forgot.
Biden.
Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yes. So Biden, before he was elected president, he actually proclaimed that without knowing what is the implication of this. This
Yeah.
is the most significant hadith for jihad. So first of all, by your hand means jihad, physical jihad. By your words mean jihad bil lisan, which is by your tongue. By your heart means is jihad bin nafs, that is jihad of the inner self. So our US president Joe Biden actually proclaimed that without knowing that the word evil is not in the Arabic text. It says whoever is munkar, whoever does not accept Muhammad and Allah, the munkar deen. The Arabic actually does not says evil. The Arabic says whoever is munkar. So now I've done a live stream a couple of times on this subject. You can go and watch it. But that's the basic jihad hadith. That's what my brother
Mhm.
Lloyd is actually telling. Please, brother.
Yeah. So yeah, you know the thing, okay? So let's talk about the thing. You know the thing. So there are 5 stages of enjoining good and forbidding evil. So this is how righteousness is expressed through action in Islam. This is how you are righteous and good and please Allah. The first stage gives simple advice. The second stage is to give sermon with sweet words. The third stage is to abuse and mete out harsh treatment. The fourth stage is to apply force and prevent one from doing a sinful act, such as throw wine from its pot, snatch away dresses of silk, and stolen articles. And the fifth stage is to assault, beat, and threaten one from doing a sinful act. Assault, beat, and threaten. Religion of warm, very warm yellow peace. Right, now, let's have a quick look at apostasy. Let's look at some rulings. Apostasy from Islam is called ridda. And it states here in the index, whoever voluntarily leaves Islam is killed. There is no indemnity or expiation. There's no punishment for killing him. And then, of course, they have the objectives of jihad regarding Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians. Let's continue. The ruling on apostasy. Leaving Islam is the ugliest form of unbelief, kufr, and it is the worst. When a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed. Section O, 8.1. When a person who has reached puberty, blah, blah, blah. So ask him to repent. If he does, it is accepted. If he refuses, he is immediately killed. This is unambiguous. There is no
So
indemnity.
unambiguous,
Yeah.
so unambiguous that there are so many ahadiths which says
Mm-hmm.
whoever changes the religion, kill him, kill
Mm-hmm.
him. And it's not just one; it is so many that that even what you are saying, because what you are saying is uh,
Sharia.
according to the Sharia, because Sharia later on added that you have to first proclaim them Islam for a few days and etc etc. But like if you look at the hadiths, whoever changes the religion, kill him. Whoever changes the religion, kill him. Even Ali, if I scroll down, it should be here. Hold on, it should be here. These are all hadiths saying whoever changes the religion, kill him. They are all sahih. But I want to go down to, yes, this one. So Ali burned some apostates, and Ibn Abbas told him, "Hey Ali, why did you burn them? Because you the punishment of burning is for Allah. You should have killed them according to the statements of Allah. Apostle, whoever changes the religion, kill him." And now this is not enough, because you have to search for man baddal dinu faqtulu, because the thing is that sometimes they translate it as whoever abrogates his religion. So you will actually find more in this if you search the Arabic, because then they sometimes say whoever abrogates or whoever changes. Instead of changes, they will say whoever leaves his religion. So
Mm-hmm.
you will find even more, and they're all sahih. But later on, these fiqh scholars, the all four school of thoughts, actually added, hey, we cannot just kill them first. We have to first proclaim Islam and give them maybe 3 days or 3 weeks or three
That's,
months or X amount of days, which is according to these people, not
yeah.
according to
Well,
hadiths.
that's
Please, brother.
entirely optional. That's entirely optional to give them time.
That's
So
fiqh.
there is,
Like I said,
yeah.
that's fiqh.
You see, there is no risk to you. There's no indemnity. You don't have to make an apology for it. There is no monetary compensation because it is killing someone who deserves to die. Right? So this is the official ruling. If you can find me a different one, I'd love to see it. If anyone disagrees, any Muslims in the comments, please show me the correct ruling. All the links to all of these books in the comments. Okay, just check the description box. Sorry, it's there. You can download all of this. Now, what is the ruling on Christianity? Let's have a look. Section W 4.0, the finality of Muhammad's message. This section has been translated to clarify possible confusions among Muslims as to Islam's place among world religions. Previously revealed religions were valid in their own eras, but were abrogated by the universal message of Islam, as is attested by many verses of the Quran. There are erroneous theories, so English-speaking Muslims are occasionally exposed to erroneous theories, wrong theories advanced by some teachers, affirming these religions' validity. Now, this is the story where the Quran affirms the Bible. Understand? According to the
Hmm,
Sharia, that is crap. Excuse my French.
exactly.
So understand the Sharia takes precedence over logic, reason, facts, reality. The Sharia sits above all of those. So there are erroneous theories affirming these religions' validity, but denying or not mentioning their abrogation, or that it is unbelief, it is kufr, to hold that the remnant cults, now bearing the names of formerly valid religions such as Christianity or Judaism, are acceptable to Allah. This is a matter over which there is no disagreement among Islamic scholars.
Please read again, brother.
So, it is kufr, it is unbelief for a Muslim to
It
hold that
is
the remnant cults,
kufr. It is kufr. It is kufr for Muslimin to think what?
known as formerly valid religions as Christianity or Islam are acceptable to Allah.
Awesome. So now, guys, Please understand this fact. Where are they taking this? They are taking this from Sharia. Please understand what I'm going to say now. Please understand what I'm going to say now. They are taking this from Sharia, and I have done a $1,000 challenge to all the Muslimin to show me one unambiguous verse in Quran where it says the Torah or Injil has been corrupted. They were not able to. $1,000 challenge that I did, and
Hmm.
I did that for like four weeks. Now, where do they take this from? Sharia. Now, if you proclaim Sharia and they say Sharia is no, Sharia can be changed, and like I told you, Sharia cannot be changed. Fiqh inside the Sharia can be changed. The Sharia cannot be. So if they are accepting this, do you think they do not accept the rest of the part? They do accept it, but they lie. They do
Of course.
accept it, but they lie. And that is why the book taught in Al Azhar University, the book taught in Al Azhar University in the third year of their course of the fourth year, it calls Bible as something that you can use for istanja. Brother, do you know what istanja is?
To wipe your ass.
Thank you. Or your front part when you do the pee. So
Yeah.
so this is what they teach in the most sacred university of Islam, where they
Hmm.
teach the Sharia as well. So this is why they call Christians and Jews as what? Please read the word again that you highlighted.
These are remnant cults.
Cults. And then you are telling me they are brothers and sisters, and they want us to be in peace with them. That's a lie. That's a facade. That's a
Yeah.
screensaver of Microsoft Word. Once you move the mouse, you will see the reality.
Right. So, so now it says here that if an English-speaking Muslim has a question, he needs to be shown a translation of scholarly Quranic exegesis, tafsir, to explain the accord between the various Quranic verses and their agreement with the Sunnah. So the scholars say here, okay, that if a Muslim, an English-speaking Muslim, isn't sure, someone has to show him a translation of the tafsir, which will explain to him. So suddenly the tafsir now become authoritative, but anytime you quote them, suddenly these things are all da'if. Okay. Notice it says finally, Islam is the final religion that Allah will never lessen or abrogate. So all other religions have been abrogated. And in fact, we are what's called Din al-Batil. The Din al-Batil means, so Batil is one of the names of Satan. So we are following the religions of Satan. Al-Batil is also, it is, so you have the Din ul-Haq, which is the religion of truth. But in fact, Haq has a greater meaning than just truth. It is the religion of ultimate reality. It is the ultimate reality, the ultimate fabric of reality, the ultimate foundation of reality. That's Islam. And of course, we are the Din al Batil. We're the false, the void, the irrelevant, the worthless
Let me
religions.
let me add to this.
Yeah.
So by the way, thank you Babylon for your super chat, brother. God bless you. Thank you. That was a good. That was like awesome. That was a
Yeah,
really good
well,
one.
nice.
And please support our brother Lloyd on his channel by subscribing to his channel. He's doing a great, marvelous job. He's going into the meat of the subject, which even I do not go. I tell the stuff in a layman terminology. He has studied these things inside out. He's giving you a PhD level or master's level lectures where I am telling you just a bachelor level stuff. But now let's going into the meat. Dinul Haq. Who is Haq? Haq is the ultimate truth. So Jesus said, I am the truth, right? Quran also claims Jesus is the truth, but that's Jesus is al-Haq. That's what Quran claims. I've done live streams on that. Anyhow, now, the ultimate truth is Haq. Quran claims that the Islam is Haq. What is Batil? Batil is something that has nothing to do with Haq. That has nothing to do with truth. The
Hmm.
exact opposite of ultimate truth. What is the exact opposite of ultimate truth, guys? Do you know what is the opposite of Jesus? As you are a Christian, so I'm going to give you your
Satan.
layman term. What is the opposite of ultimate truth? The opposite of
Evil.
ultimate truth is evil. Who's
Satan.
evil?
Evil.
Satan.
Satan.
So everything else is Satan. Only Islam is the truth. That's what
Hmm.
my brother Lloyd is saying over here. Please, brother.
Yeah. And that's why we are evil. to them. We are evil.
Hmm.
We are practicing evil, and therefore they need to command the right and forbid the wrong. We are the wrong that they must forbid.
And we are not saying that, their own books are saying that. We are showing you on the screen. Please, brother.
Right. So now, Islam, always casting the first stone. So chapter 012.0, the penalty for fornication and sodomy. So let's have a look. The legal penalty is obligatorily imposed upon anyone who fornicates or commits sodomy. Right? Do you have a license for sex? Right? No matter whether the person is Muslim, non-Muslim subject of the Islamic State, or someone who has left Islam. So death penalty. Right? So let's have a look. If the offender is blah, blah, blah. So he or she is stoned to death. This is why it still happens. Okay? They are stoned to death. The penalty consists, and if the offender is someone blah, 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 the secondary penalty is being scourged 100 stripes with a whip, which may actually kill you and does kill people. So if the penalty is stoning and it's a pregnant woman is not stoned until she gives birth and the child can suffice with the milk of another woman. Then you can stone her to death. This is
Okay,
the
so
yeah.
let me add some certain things over here. These three rulings, these three rulings, after the consensus, actually added to 1, 2, and 3 in this way. And Brother Lloyd, you can definitely disagree with me. But after
Mhm.
the consensus, the later on, they came into these 1, 2, 3, because these rulings are part of Sharia, but then the fiqh comes in and which defines them in a different chain. If you are a married person, then you will be stoned to death if you do adultery. Okay. If you are not a married person and you do adultery, then you will have 100, what do you call it, hunters
Stripes,
or
lashes,
stripes
lashes,
slash lashes,
lashes.
right? And in that you can very well die, but you will be given 100 of them with the full force. Now the
Mhm.
third part is, very, very important. Okay. Because what happened was that a woman came to Muhammad. This is a hadith, and I've shown that multiple times in Quran. A woman, multiple time in my live streams. Um, a woman came to Muhammad and she said, "Hey Muhammad, I have committed adultery, but I am pregnant." Muhammad said, "Okay, go back and come back when you actually give birth to the child." Woman went back, came back after she had a child in her hand. Muhammad said, "Okay, does this child has anybody else to feed?" She's like, "No, I'm breastfeeding this child." And Muhammad said, "Okay, go back, come back to me when this child is able to walk and eat of his own." So she comes back after 2.5 years. She comes back and she said, "Okay, Muhammad, now I'm here again. What should I do?" Muhammad said, "Okay, stone her to death." Now imagine what is happening over here. This whole hadith has been taken into consideration to make the Sharia implementation. And this hadith has been transmitted by 7 different ways, 7 different chain of narration, or 8 different chain of narration. Because this was done when Muhammad was sitting in the pulpit and multiple people were around him, and she is coming to him as getting the verdict in the Medina,
Mhm.
right? When Muhammad is having a pulpit. Okay, so multiple chain of narrators proclaim this hadith, and this is such a often spoken hadith. And you know what Muslim says? Muhammad wanted this woman not to come and proclaim his word. Stupidity! If Muhammad did not wanted her to proclaim her word, Muhammad should have said, "Woman, go, you are forgiven," just like Jesus said. Just like Jesus
Right.
said, whoever has never sinned can throw the first stone. And then when everyone left, Muhammad said, "Woman, you are forgiven. Sin no more." But Muhammad did
He
not
did
do
not.
that. Muhammad did not do that. Muhammad did not do that. So that's what my brother is saying over here. I am just correlating these things to the hadiths for my Muslim viewers who will come later in the description and comments and say this or that or that. Everything in the Sharia has a linkage to the Sahih authentic ahadith with reference to the
Mhm.
Quran and the chains. Nothing is out of it. Please,
Yep.
brother.
So now let's talk about, so as we're winding down, so I'll start winding down and finishing. So guys, Quran 65:4. Muslims love to simply just deny this. So let's look at the official Islamic, the Sunni Islamic ruling on the waiting period on 65:4. So let's have a look. A waiting period is obligatory for a woman divorced after intercourse, okay, a woman divorced after intercourse, whether the husband and the wife are prepubescent, or they have reached puberty, or one of them has reached puberty and one has not reached puberty. Intercourse means copulation. This is the perfect law of Allah, the perfect law of Muhammad. And it says here, do I need to repeat this? Is this clear to everyone? Islam explicitly allows prepubescent sex. There is no age limit assigned in Islam. None.
For that, I have done another live stream. I've done another live stream on that, and I'm sharing the link over there. Every tafsir writer agrees to it. Every tafsir writer
Yeah.
agrees to it, because
Yeah.
the waiting period can only happen if you have intercourse. If you haven't had intercourse, then the waiting period is not required, according to Quran chapter number 33 verse number 49. So
In
if
the
you
Sharia
have
as
not,
well.
yes, if you have not have intercourse, then the waiting period is not required. I just shared the live stream link for everyone to watch later. Now, even now, even now, brother, can I divert and play a 2 minutes video, if you don't mind?
Let me just finish this slide, and then if that's okay, or
Okay, okay,
should you
yes,
want
yes,
to
yes,
continue?
please. No, please.
Yeah,
I just wanna play 2 minute video on this
sure.
particular part. But once you
No,
are
no, fine.
done on that part,
So, okay, so now here's another ruling. Look, to do a discussion on marital sex with prepubescent girls in Islam would itself be an entire show, and I have done a 2 hour show on this subject. Okay, I will do it again. But that itself is a subject from at least 90 minutes. Notice this ruling: a husband who accuses his wife of adultery is disciplined when adultery is impossible, such as when the person accused, his wife, is a mere infant. Islam defines infant as a girl less than 1 year old, a
hmm,
baby, a baby. Okay, infant is defined as up to 1 year old. So if a man accuses his wife of sleeping with other men, he is actually, the judge will fine or punish him because she could not have initiated the adultery. Someone else must have done that to her because she was too young to do it herself. So understand, infant. What does This is disgusting. And I have one more question to finish my slide here. So understand, this is Islamic law. There's plenty of rulings like this, right? And now I want to ask you guys, this is a very serious question because this annoys me. And I've been having discussions for the last few days. If the very same act, which is now supposedly present in the Talmud, okay, in Talmudic law, that's apparently the story, if it is evil, if it is vile, if it is disgusting, as Muslims happily tell us that in the Talmud, even Christians will say this, right? But Muslims will tell us that this is disgusting. Why is Islam perfect, holy, and pure if it does the exact same thing? Islam allows and it does the precise same thing. Judaism is evil because it does this. Islam is pure, holy, perfect because it does the very same thing. For those Muslims listening, please give me your lies and your excuses in the comments below.
awesome. So
Thanks. I'll stop there for now.
I have sent another video, which is sexual
Okay.
moralities and Islamic studies. And in this video, I have used uh, the Prophet Abu Lay and uh, Bahishti Zever, which is in English, it is called, what is it called in English, brother? Uh,
That's a good question.
heavenly
Oh
ornament.
yes, the heavenly ornaments. Yes, sorry. Yeah,
Heavenly
that
ornament.
wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
heavenly
the
ornaments.
the
Disgusting.
Arabic terminology is Bahishti Zever, and I've used
Yes.
heavenly ornament by
Yeah.
the. So you please watch this. It's very important for you to watch to get the full comprehensive knowledge of this. But right now, let me play. Even Mimi Hijab is bound to state this. Check this out, guys.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. And the ones who had never been pubescent before.
So you see what he said, right? You see what he said. If we look at the Quran, and I've done a live stream, I've sent you the link for that as well. If we look at the Quran, you will find it that you can actually have it pre-pubescent. How much pre-pubescent? Now this interview that I'm going to show you right now, it's in Arabic, in Egypt. on a live TV telecast, in a live telecast. Check this out.
يعني كلام صحيح البخاري،
نعم.
كلام الفتح، كلام الحافظ في الفتح، كل ده بيقول انه الاتفاق على انه الكلام هنا على الصغيرة التي لم تبلغ الحيض بعد، يجوز تزويجها وإن لم يحدث وفاق تطليقها، والشرع قال هذا فعدتها كذا. مين اللي قال الكلام ده زي ما بقول لحضرتك كده؟ ولا لم يحدث
الصغيرة، يعني الصغيرة اللي هي لم تبلغ الحيض يجوز.
نعم.
يجوز
الكلام
تزويجها.
طبعا الكلام ليس كلامي، انما الكلام على ايه؟
يعني تبقى مثلا، يعني مثلا كم سنة؟ يعني 10 سنين، 9 سنين، 8 سنين،
لم يتحدث سن. الحقيقة لم يتحدث سن للزواج. لا، الشريعة الإسلامية كلها، هات لي حد يقول لي اتحدث سن بيوم، بسنة، ب10، ب15، ب20.
انت على كده بقى، انت ممكن وهي لسه طفلة بقى شهر او شهرين بقى،
ان شاء الله حتى يوم.
Even 1 day old. Even 1 day old. And this is how the Bahishti Zevar, the heavenly ornament, which is actually written for the woman, right, describes through these Sharia, which is taken from the Quran and the Ahadith, and it expands into that. So I don't think I have to say anything more, brother.
Man, this is just shocking. So moving forward, so let's finish up. So guys, I want to introduce you to the Hedaya. This is the Hanafi Sharia manual. Okay, 4 volumes, nearly 2,700 pages. Yes, he did, 1 day old. So you can read plenty. The Hedaya is a goldmine. The thefts which occasion amputation on the manner of cutting off the limb of a thief. If you ever wanted to know, you can go and get 20 pages of information on how exactly to cut off and when to cut off, on the manner of waging war, of plunder, and the division thereof, piracy, in other words. Okay, then you have the conquest of infidels, of tithes and tributes, on jizya, and the laws concerning apostates. This is a very, very detailed manual, much more so than the Reliance of the Traveler, which is a compendium. It's like a 1-volume compendium. This is 4 volumes with thousands of pages. So let's have a look. Jizya and the Quran. Okay, so now you've got jizya, right? So fight against those who've been given the scriptures, Jews and the Christians, and they forbid not what Allah has forbidden. Okay, and they must be brought low, abased. Okay, they must be humiliated. Let's have a look and see what the Hedaya says.
Hey, brother, hold on, please. Please hold on. Sorry, the people are still stuck to that particular point.
Okay.
Guys, can you please go back to the one slide back, please? One slide back where you talked about Hanafi school, Hedaya. Okay, guys, I'm sharing the link again. Guys, Imam Ashraf Ali Thanvi is a Hanafi, right? He extracted Hanafi scholar Imam Abu Hanifa, that my brother Lloyd is actually going to explain even further on the Jazia point. He expanded on Imam Abu Hanifa and his statements of the Sharia manual, okay, which is in Hedaya. And then he wrote this. So in his book, which I described in this link, and I've showed the book and I've showed the links to everyone, he says 1 day old, and if you penetrate and rips apart the front passage and the back passage, you should not have any more sex with that baby. Please go and watch the live stream after this one. Imam Abu Hanifa is one of the major scholar of Islam. He's not some XYZ guy. Okay, so because the child is too little, if you rips apart the passage of the front and the back, because they are too close and they are just separated by a small skin, I don't want to say anything more, brother. But like, because you guys were dwelling into that, so that's why I just expanded to that. And
let's look at that ruling. This is like, I'm not going to go, I don't want to belabor this point, but I want to bring up this ruling. When a man has had sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 9 years and has ruptured the parts, it is unlawful for him to have further connection with her, but she is not released from her ties if connected with him by marriage or slavery. If no rupture has taken place, the prohibition is not incurred, and he can go and diddle her at will. This book, this is the Digest of Mohammedan Law. It is still in use in Asia, in East Asia. So it is used in Pakistan, for instance, Bangladesh.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
still in use in the court system today.
Yes. Yes. And which
Okay.
one is this?
And so is the
By
Hedaya. That's the
written by who?
Neil Bailey, the Digest of Mohammedan Law, Neil Bailey.
Yeah, but like Neil Bailey would be a translator, the
Okay.
originator. Where does he takes it from? Do you know that?
Not certain,
Okay.
but I
Okay,
haven't.
but like
But it's
this is
still in
in
use. It's still in
Hanfi.
use
Yeah.
today.
This is an Hadaya, anyways, guys. This is an Hadaya by this. So let's move on
Yeah,
from this topic. Let's
yeah.
go into
So
Jizya, which is
so
also a
let's look at the
very, very big
jizya.
topic.
So jizya is known as capitation tax. Now you know what
Mm-hmm.
decapitation is. If you don't pay the capitation tax, you will be decapitated.
Mm-hmm.
So capitation tax is a species of punishment. Muslims love to tell you, don't you pay tax? Hello, it's just tax. Hello. So capitation tax is a species of punishment. It is inflicted. You inflict punishment upon infidels on account of their disloyalty to Allah. Whence it is called jizyat, which is derived from jizya, meaning retribution, vengeance. Jizya is vengeance upon the dhimmi.
The
So,
dhimmis.
right. And of course, when they speak of this, okay, a base, this phrase, a base, in the previous hadith, in 929, sorry, in Tafsir Ibn Abbas, right? A base means to belittle or to degrade, to humiliate, to demean, to disgrace them. In other words, Muslims must humiliate you. There is no sense of honor, because if they treat you with honor and respect, then they're violating the Sharia. They're violating Allah. You
Exactly.
must
And
not be treated with respect.
let me add to this point. I'm sharing my screen. This is
Sure.
Tafsir Ibn Kathir of Quran chapter number 9, verse number 29, and verse number 29 ends with Wahum Zaghirun, so that they should be humiliated. And it says disgraced, humiliated, belittled. Therefore, Muslims are not allowed to honor the people of Dhammis, they are Dhammis, or elevate them above Muslims, for they are miserable, disgraced, humiliated. Imam Muslim recorded from Abu Huraira that the Prophet said, etc., etc., etc. But I'm not going to go into the detail. I'm just going to tell you, when they say hatta yu'tul jazya, until they give the jazya or embrace Islam, so that they would be humiliated, disgraced, belittled. So whatever my brother Lloyd is saying, it is Quranic. Even though that he's reading Sharia, it is Quranic. And this is Quran chapter number 9, verse number 29. Let me just show you that Wahum Zaghirun is Quranic. Quran chapter number 9, verse number 29. It is Quranic. Wahum Zaghirun. They translated as subdued, but here it says humbled. But the real essence of this word is so that they would be humiliated, disgraced, and all that. This is Quranic. It's not a text. It's humiliation, because you guys are dhammis and we are dhammis. FYI. Brother, please carry on.
Right. So guys, I'm going to try and start winding down now. So we're on the last few slides. Some slides have multiple pages. So, but yeah. So this, obviously, watch this again at your own time. Read through the slides on the screen. And so notice this is modern teaching. So this is a very, very modern, very new tafsir that is being shown here. Not tafsir. This is a sirah. Because what people forget is that there's not just the Quran and the Hadith. Okay, there's also the sirah, the biographies, technically the Gospels of Muhammad, the equivalent of the Gospels of Muhammad. Muslims don't want you to read those. They don't even want you to know about those, because those things are embarrassing for them. Good grief. So moving on. The teachings of Moses is as far from our conception of justice and fair play. So in other words, they claim to be the inheritors of Moses, that they are the true Jews, they're the true Christians, that they're the ones who inherited the law of Moses. But they say here that the law of Moses is far from the Quranic conception of justice and fair play. Now, that's a contradiction. The teaching of Jesus is impractical and has always been impractical. Never in the history have Christians tried to put this teaching into practice. This is what they teach at madrasa. Only the teaching of Islam is practical, one which has been both preached and practiced by its exponents, and the practice of which can create and maintain peace in the world. The religion of yellow peace, warm peace, peace that comes out of the back of a camel. But I'm not sure that that's the right kind of peace. I think you spelled that wrong. Um,
I can only laugh on that, man.
Sorry, man. So let me just finish this slide. So the practical verdict of the Christian peoples is that war is the real teaching of the New Testament. Turning the other cheek was either an opportunist teaching dictated by the helplessness of early Christians. We only said that because we were weak, turning the other cheek. So, in other words, the New Testament teaches war, and they are defending themselves from us because we are going to make war on them because our gospel, the New Testament teaches to make war, and they are just defending themselves. So, Islam does not teach aggression as did Moses. Moses taught aggression, nor does it, like present day and corrupt Christianity, preach a contradiction. It does not ask us to turn the other cheek and at the same time to sell our clothes to buy a sword. The teaching of Islam fits the natural instincts of man and promotes peace in the only natural way. Islam forbids aggression, but it urges us to fight if failure to fight jeopardizes peace and if peace would promote war. If failure to fight means the extirpation or the death of free belief and of the search for truth, it is our duty to fight. In Islam, you do not search for truth. The Sharia tells you what is true. If the Sharia said the sky is bright pink with yellow stripes, that is
Then
true,
it
and
is.
your lying eyes are wrong.
Exactly.
So now let's have a look at the actual ruling on jihad. Now, there are multiple kinds of jihad. At least 14 that we know of, 14 kinds of jihad, not just the three we're familiar with. But understand, there's the colloquial meaning, the dictionary, the basic meaning, but there's also the legal, the shari definition, the legal, lawful definition. The caliph makes war upon Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians, provided he has invited them to enter Islam in faith and practice. And if they will not, he invites them to pay the jizya. Now, notice this is contradicted elsewhere. Even the Sharia contradicts itself. Every rule I teach you today can be broken. There is not one that they cannot break. Understand this. There is not a single absolute rule anywhere in all of Islam. Now, the war continues until they become Muslims. So Muslims must make war. Else, they must pay the non-Muslim poll tax in accordance with the word of Allah. Fight those who do not believe in Allah until they pay the poll tax out of hand and are humbled.
Quran
So this
9:29.
Correct. Now let's look at the formal ruling. That was the objectives of jihad. Now let's look at the actual ruling of jihad. Jihad means to war against non-Muslims. It is etymologically derived from the word mujahada, signifying warfare to establish the religion. The scriptural basis for jihad prior to the ijma, the scholarly consensus, are Quranic verses 2:216. Fighting is prescribed for you. The only absolute rule is disrespect non-Muslims. Yes, that is true, Eric. 2, slay them wherever you find them, Quran 4:89. And 3, fight the idolaters utterly, Quran 9:36. Notice they always say that we take the Quran out of context. Here, the Sharia is just quoting a few words, not even the whole chapter, the whole passage, not even the whole sentence. And it's saying, that's it. It's very plain. It's obvious. It's in your face. And Muslims say, we are out of context. And of course, such hadiths as the one related by Bukhari, where the Prophet said, I've been commanded to fight people until they testify there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is the messenger. If they say it, they have saved their blood and possessions from me. So this last is the formal ruling on jihad. Okay. Now I will tell you that I did remove a small section because that small section is a translation one piece added by the translator of this book. I removed it because it is not in the original Arabic. It was added. So therefore you cannot always trust what you read. Get a second source, a third source. Okay. Cross-reference. The translator added a section that says that the Prophet says that, there's the lesser jihad and the great. That is based on a false hadith, not even a weak hadith, a fake hadith. Okay, so that hadith is considered fabricated by many scholars, and I've done shows on that before. And it was inserted by the translator to try to soften this message. It's a lie, Adam.
No, sir, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because that hadith, which is a fabricated hadith, it goes against Quran. Let me add to something over here. When you say yuqatilu, they say it is fighting, right? But this fighting is to kill. That is why qatal means kill.
Yeah.
So qutal means fight, qatal means kill. So this is like fight to kill. When you actually want to have a fight, the wrist fight, you have harab. You have harab, not yuqatilu. And in Quran, you will see harab very little, and you will see yuqatilu or kutila more times than you see harab. For example, let me give you another example. When Abu Bakr did the fighting against the apostate, That fight is called Harbur Ridda, the fight against the leaver of Islam, the apostate of Islam. Harbur Ridda. Why did they not say Kutil Ridda? You know, because in Arabic, and this is the same classical Arabic, this is not new Arabic, because we are talking about the same Abu Bakr right after Muhammad. So it's the same classical Arabic, it's not new Arabic. So why does it say Harbur Ridda instead of Qatl Ribba? Kutil Ribba, not Qatl. Qatl will mean kill. Kutil. Kutil means with the pesh instead of a dash, the pesh. So you see the problem over here. These Muslimin of the West, especially the scholars, they are lying to their Muslims and to us. And this is what we are showing, how much of a lie it is. This is an extreme knowledge that you are getting from the original sources all the way inside. It's not KFC, guys. Please, brother.
Right. So just to run this down to finish, guys. So yeah. So for instance, if you move to the Muslim lands, right, under the Sharia, if they've imposed their law, if you stay there for a year, you become a dhimmi. You can never leave again. You cannot return to the Dar al-Harb. The Dar al-Harb is the house of war. So the lands of Islam are the Dar al-Islam, and anything outside of their borders is the house of war. This is the house that is always, the territory, always under threat of invasion and assault by Islamic armies. Okay? So the wealth of the residents of enemy territory, all territory outside of Islamic lands, is enemy territory that is gathered by the Muslims. And if it's gathered without fighting, it will be spent upon the interests of the Muslims. In other words, for their army. Okay, jizya is imposed upon the people of the book. It states here. Notice men and women are booty due to the permissibility of their enslavement. So yes, in Islam, slavery is still law. They can enslave you anytime they like. So again, in the Tafsir Fath al-Bari, this is the major commentary. Not only the Quran has commentaries, even the Hadith have commentaries.
These as commentaries.
So, yes, and Fath al-Bari is the major commentary on Bukhari. And they say here, I've been commanded to fight the people. So understand? So this continues. Now notice the people of innovation. Okay, so we must accept the Sharia as revelation. The Sharia is considered revelation in the Fath al-Bari. We understand from the Hadith that whoever restrains from declaring Tawhid must be fought. So how can we leave fighting those who pay the jizya? How can they not fight those, okay, and make pacts? So the intent of jizya is so that they will be forced towards Islam until they enter Islam or accept what will lead them to Islam. They must make you a Muslim. There is no compulsion. This is not true. The scholars here, this Tafsir Sahih Bukhari, the Fath al-Bari, this is a compilation between Al-Azhar University and Medina University. The two top Islamic seminaries have written this, and these are their rulings, right? So let me continue here. So understand, no compulsion. So subject to the original penalty, which is destruction. In other words, idolaters, which is us, must be killed. We are subject to the original penalty, which is death. So it is lawful to make slaves of the idolaters. And by reducing them to slavery, they are deprived of power over themselves. They are deprived of power over their own selves by imposition of capitation tax. It's not just tax. It is, understand what this is. And they must pay the Muslims the produce of their labor. So they are, it's extortion, it's theft. If the Muslim army subdues infidel territory before any capitation tax is established, the inhabitants, together with their wives and children, are all plunder. You all plunder, you are property of the state, and it is lawful to reduce to slavery all infidels. There you go. Now, notice the infidelity is also an atrocious thing because, okay, apostates, but notice we must all embrace the faith or be put to death. Shafi holds that it is lawful to make slaves of the idolaters, right? Jizyat. There are two kinds of capitation tax.
Hold on from this, yeah. Let's finish slavery first. Guys, I have done approximately 3.5 hour long part 1 and part 2 on slavery. I'm just sending it out to you guys now as in the live chat. So Islam does not abolish slavery. That's a big fat lie. That's a big fat lie. It gives you ways and means to keep slavery. So
Yeah,
understand what I'm
about
saying.
30%, about 30% of the Sharia is devoted to the laws of slavery.
Exactly. So it gives you the rulings of how you should have the slave and how you can actually have sex with the slave woman.
Hmm.
And it is Quranic, not even hadiths. It is Quranic. The hadiths that I've shared over there, it is how many slaves Muhammad had in his life. In his life. So this is how it is. Rob Christian, brother, God bless you. Yes, that's the Muslim comment saying it does not say that. So, brother Rob, whenever you are, if you are free, please do join in. So,
Right.
Islam does not abolishes slavery. It removes. No, no, no. It gives you the ways and the means to keep slaves. To
Yes,
keep
it tells
slaves
you
and how to keep
exactly.
slaves. And Muhammad had so many slaves. Muhammad loved slaves. And that's what I've
Yeah,
showed in the 3 hours live stream that I've shared part one and part two.
yeah.
Please subscribe.
In the Sharia, slavery is actually just a form of commerce. It falls under sales. So understand that when the Prophet spoke, okay, basically capitation tax or the jizya is due only in lieu of destruction. In other words, pay this or die. Destruction, they mean death. Capitation tax serves as an aid to the troops, to the army, right? So capitation tax is in lieu of assistance. So in other words, because you are not joining the Islamic army to then go and invade other countries and fight other people to make them Muslims, you need to pay as punishment. You then pay them as punishment. Thank you, Rob Christian. Good to meet you. Hi. Right. So capitation tax is imposed because this is mentioned in the Quran. Okay. It is imposed as a return from the mercy and forbearance shown by the Muslims for not killing you.
By the way, guys, capitation tax, you have said it 3 times. What is capitation means? Do you know that? Can you explain capitation for the viewers
Um,
in the English terminology?
it's the opposite of decapitation. You want to keep your head.
So, yes. So, if you want to keep your head, you have only two things. Either pay jizya, which they proclaim it's a protection tax. Okay, protection tax against who? Against Muslims who have
Yeah.
occupied your land, and they will capitate you if you don't pay tax. If
Yeah.
you don't pay tax, that protection tax, which is called jizya, it's not a protection tax. It is
Yeah.
so that you would be humiliated.
It's a
Yeah,
form of
head
poll
tax.
tax. A poll tax is a head tax. So it's from poll tax, and a poll tax is a tax on your head. So, yeah. So, in other words, every subject of the Muslim government is by the law enjoined to afford towards carrying on the enjoined war with infidels. So they must make war on infidels. Okay, tax or acts, as Gospel Edge says, yes. Capitation tax is imposed, and Shafi argues that destruction is incurred by all infidels. Everyone must be killed unless they pay. So they have a global war. So let's have a quick look. Lying to non-Muslims, cheating them, and backbiting them might become permissible, as may killing them, according to Muqtasal al-Quduri. This is one of the most basic of the Sharia manuals. And when you become an imam and go to seminary to study Islamic law, you probably start in some curriculum. You start with this book because it's the simplest, most basic, and you work your way up to the Hedaya. The Muslim is not to lose sight of Islamic injunctions. One may not be nice to people at the expense of compromising Islamic principles. Remember that, okay? Don't be nice to people if it means that you're going to have to violate Islamic principles. And even if Moses were alive on the earth today, Moses would have no option but to follow Muhammad, right?
Uh-huh.
Slay the polytheists. Sorry, yeah. Slay the polytheists, lie in ambush for them everywhere. This is in Shafi's Risala, okay? The Risala is effectively obsolete. There were two versions of the Risala. He wrote one early, he wrote one late. All this knowledge has been absorbed and put into the reliance of the traveler. Fight those who do not practice the religion of truth, of those who have been given the book, until they pay the jizya. The apostle said, I shall continue to fight unbelievers. Umar collected the jizya on the basis of the Quranic communication until they pay the jizya and have been humbled on the basis of the Quran, which states that unbelievers must be fought until they accept Islam. Understand all of these books. Let's look at the Kitab al-Siyar al-Sagir. Al-Siyar al-Sagir. This is basically international law, Islamic international policy. If an ambush is made against them without inviting to them Islam, it makes no difference. In other words, they must invite you to Islam. But if you don't and you kill them anyway, it's okay. It doesn't matter. This,
Okay,
it
hold
says
on.
in the Hedaya as well.
Brother, don't
Yeah.
rush. Don't rush. We can have another 30 minutes. Don't rush. If you are not in a hurry, we are not in a hurry. This is very
I
important.
okay.
This is very important. Muhammad, guys, Muhammad, even the Ghazwa Uhud, which is the first battle, Ghazwa Badr, sorry, Ghazwa Badr, the first battle of Muhammad, which they claim that it is a defensive war. Do you guys know that Muhammad did 4 battles before Ghazwa Badr
Hmm.
on the caravans of the people? He did 4 initial battles. Ghazwa Badr, the first battle that they say that it was defensive, dude, that was in retaliation of Muhammad's battles on the caravans. It
Hmm.
was not something that the Makkan just came upon Muhammad. 4 battles were done before before this. You see, when Muslims come and proclaim to you, hey brother, we know this and we know that, this is stupidity. Literally, most of the Muslims do not even know that Muhammad, none of the single conquest was actually defensive. They were because of the oppression. So the first battle was expedition of Hamza. Okay, expedition of Hamza. The second was Ubaidah. The third was Al Kharar, and then of Vadan, and then of Bawat, and then came the Badr. So 4 battles Muhammad actually sent troops to kill or to capture or to rob. However you may like to
Hmm.
take it, it does not matter. Kill, capture, or rob does not matter. And the last battle that they did in Bawat, they actually not only killed, captured, and taken their Male Ghanimat. Male Ghanimat, can you please translate if you remember? The capture of war as the booty of the war. And they took it to Muhammad. After that, Badr happened. After that, the Kuffar Makkah came upon Muhammad. So it was not something that just happened out of the ordinary. Hey, Muhammad has some tribe in Medina, we should have fight with him. No, Muhammad was the initiator of those.
Right.
Muhammad was the initiator of those.
Right.
So please now read this thing again, the last 2 sentences. Please, brother. I beg you to
Read.
please read them again.
So if ambush is made against them, the disbelievers in the daytime or during the night, without inviting them to Islam, it makes no difference.
No difference.
So,
It
in
makes
fact,
no difference.
there is a ruling in the Hedaya, which I didn't show because I can do a separate show just on jihad as well to show you all the Sharia rulings on it, all the scholarly consensus on it. However, it says that if you kill women and children, you must not do this because it is forbidden. It says it's forbidden to kill women and children. But then the very next sentence says, but if you do kill them, it's okay because they're not Muslims.
Oh, there are so many hadiths on that.
Yeah, it
So
says
when
there's no punishment. They're not Muslims, so it's fine.
yeah, because there are so many hadiths on them. At the time of Khaybar, they were making raids on the polytheist, and they said the people said to them, hey Muhammad, these on the night raids, women and children are being killed. Women and children are being killed. And you know what Muhammad said?
They are of them.
They are they are of them. So you do not have to worry. Let me share this hadith so that
Yeah,
people will not say, hey, Adam is
yeah.
saying something or you are saying
I'm
something
just
wrong.
showing the ruling on slaying of
Sorry,
women
brother.
and children as well. But yeah, no
Sorry, brother.
worries. It's fine.
I took
No
control.
worries.
Sorry, my
Yeah,
bad. My bad.
it's
Let
fine.
me just show this and then I will give you the control again. So this is Sunan ibn Majah. Prophet was asked about the polytheists who are attacked at night. Attacked at night. Who is attacking? Muhammad and his followers. And among them are women and children are being killed. He said they are from among them. Multiple Sunan Sahih Muslim, same hadith. Sahih Muslim, when asked about the women and children of the polytheists being killed during the night raids, said they are from them. Does not matter if they are being killed. Multiple hadiths on that. I don't need to go into subject in detail on that. But this
Yeah,
is the reality, guys. This is the
yeah.
reality. Sorry, brother,
Yeah.
I took the stream over. Please carry
Yeah,
on.
let me show you. So this is the formal ruling within the Hedaya. So the Hedaya is the most complete of the Sharia manuals, the most detailed. If a Muslim attacks infidels without calling them to the faith, he is an offender because this is forbidden. But if he does, before inviting them, and he kills them, and he takes their property, there is no fine. He has to do no expiation and no atonement are due because that which protects them, Islam, does not exist in them. So,
Exactly.
and then they go on in the same manner as the slaying of women and children or infant children, in the same manner, just as the slaying of women or infant children of infidels is forbidden. But if a Muslim were to kill them, you are not liable to a fine. It's okay. Don't do it. But if you do it, it's okay.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta share something. I gotta share something now once again.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to Sahih al-Muslim, this is the first book, second book. In this book, you go down to the first book called Kitabul Faith, the Kitab of Iman, the book of faith, the Kitabul Iman. If you go to this book, the first time the Shahada is mentioned, the Shahada is in this book. In this book, in chapter number 8, in chapter number 8 of this book, it is said the command to fight. This is the title. It is not even the hadith. This is the title of the book of Kitabul Faith, the book of faith. The command to fight the people until they say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So until they accept Muhammad as their prophet and Allah as their God, the command to fight those people and establish salah and etc etc etc. Whosoever does that, his life and his wealth are protected.
Mhm.
His life and his wealth is protected. And when we see into the hadiths of that, they all describe that in detail of this thing. Same thing. Till they testify to the fact that there is no God but Allah, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and believe in me, I am the messenger I have brought. And when they do it, their blood and riches are guaranteed protection on my
Mhm.
behalf. Otherwise, not. That is what my brother Lloyd is showing from Sharia ruling. So
Yeah. So
Sharia ruling are not against Quran and Hadith. They are
yeah. So
absolutely right on spot. Yes, brother.
understand there are no absolute laws in Islam. There's not one. There's not a single absolute law in Islam. There is no unbreakable law in Islam. Not a single one. So understand, don't kill them. But if you do kill them, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't kill women and children. But if you do, well, whatever. Want a
So
burger?
what?
Yeah, so what? Exactly. And so finally, understand that, look, I've touched on points. I mean, on many of these slides, I can do literally a 2 hour show just on some of these topics alone. But understand that anything that is not Islamic is the territory of war. You live in the territory of war. Okay? They are fighting a war with you. You just don't know it. And the final slide is this. So there's the prohibition of warlike operations during the sacred months. So the prohibition of sacred operations during the sacred months has been abrogated. It is reported from Mujahid, blah, 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 that the prohibition of war in sacred months has been abrogated. The abrogating verse is the saying of Allah, slay the polytheists wherever you find
You
them.
find them. That's chapter number 9. I forgot which one. Do you know the verse?
9-5. 9-5.
9-5. Yes.
So understand this is, so I want to end here, guys. So this, I've given you a taste and I've given you an overview of the Sharia rulings and how they are consistent across any number of Sharia manuals, no matter which ones you grab. They all say the same things. The scholars do not disagree. Sure, they disagree on whether some like coffee, some like tea, some like 3 sugars, some like no sugar, some like 2 sugars, some like instant coffee. Sure, they'll fight about that whole day. These issues, there's no disagreement. I'll end here, Adam.
All right. No, brother, you are absolutely right. And in these 2 hours, what you have done is you have given so much wealth of knowledge, so much wealth of knowledge that people has to dwell into it and understand it, because this is the reality. And the Muslims who are on my channel, and I know that you guys are listening and watching, who wants to come up? Now is the time to come up. instead of stating something in the chat later on, why don't you just come up right now, right here, and explain?
Well,
This is the
my
time.
point here, it's 11:30 for me almost, and I have. What we can do is I can stay a few minutes, but what we can do is we can schedule a show where they can come on and debate or discuss what we have shown here if they want to, because I don't want to be up too late.
Oh, no, that's okay. But like, even though if you are not here, even though if you are here, you are going to demolish them fully. But
Hmm?
even with a child like me, they run away. They just run away every time. Why do they run
Yeah.
away? It shows their issues. By the way, brothers, guys, and sisters, whoever are watching, this brother Lloyd, I have watched his channel. Quite frankly, I have not seen anybody going into this depth of Sharia to this extent. And he has the terminologies that these use. I don't even remember these terminologies. This guy does. So please subscribe to his channel if you want to know the terminologies and you want to come into apologetics and to work with these people. This is his channel link. I have shared it multiple times already. Subscribe to his channel,
Thank you.
support this brother. If I am supporting him, if I am going into his channel and learning from him, from these for these terminologies and Sharia, dude, I haven't studied the Sharia. I was in a Muslim country, so I know what is implemented there. I have studied Quran, I have studied Tafsir, I've studied Sunnah, but how these things actually correlate perfectly into Sharia, this is not my cup of tea. This is your cup of tea, and you are doing that. And every time somebody will come up with a Sharia, I'm gonna hit you and I'm gonna say, "Hey, brother Lloyd, why don't you come up and tell us
Right.
about the Sharia?" And anybody who has to have a debate or a discussion with Lloyd, they can come to my Discord channel. They can arrange a meeting with him to talk about Sharia or Talmud or anything. Once again, remember, we are not Jews. We don't support Jews. But what is right, we proclaim. That's the
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah,
So,
we just want to be honest. And also, I don't think we can call people by lying about them. We tell the truth about Islam. We want to tell the truth about whatever the Jewish scriptures are. And I think by offending deliberately, look, we're not deliberately trying to offend Muslims, but speaking the truth is offensive to them. Revealing the Sharia is offensive to them. What can we do? But we speak the truth, and by lying about things, we're not making it better. So we just want to speak the truth.
exactly, exactly. And everyone, thank you so very much for the support. And the Murtad of ex-Muslim, welcome, brother. Thank you. And happy Eid to the Muslimin who are enjoying Eid, which is a very, very pagan festival. Uh, God bless you all. And once again, anything that we have stated, either me or Lloyd, in any of the, we have backed it up with the authentic sources.
Yeah.
If you think we are wrong, I always invite and share the invite to come up live. And I did that on StreamYard just because so that certain Muslimin who stated last time that we were not given the invite, now is the time. Do you want to come up? Do you want to refute anything we stated? We are here. We are backed up by your own sources. By your own sources.
I'd say, look, everything that I've used here is linked in the description box. If you're Muslim, go and read your own sources. Grab your Sharia manuals. If there's one that contradicts this and says something else that gives you a different definition of jihad, please show it to me. I'd love to see it. Okay? So, and then explain to me why the four perfect imams have made all of these mistakes. I'd love to know. Right? So understand, read your sources and then come and tell me how I misread them. Show us that is something that we missed. You're going to have a very hard time doing that. But yeah, read your sources. Let me know if they're the wrong sources. If they are the wrong sources, why are they the wrong sources? And tell me, make a comment, which are the correct ones? Which is the correct? Which is the right? Which is the authoritative Sharia? Which one should I be reading, buddy?
Exactly. And brother, can you give the answer to the debit try? Because I have my answer, but is there something
What is
written in
David
the Sharia?
asking? Adam Sika, I'm always curious how much the jizya. Oh, how much is so the jizya was an amount of Basically, look, if you look at a percentage amount, it's up to okay. There is no maximum that is set, so they could force you to pay, but at least typically, historically, it's about. I have a show on this. I actually do have a show on Demis and Jizya on my channel. Very detailed, very lengthy. It covers like 60 pages
Can you
of
share the
rulings.
link?
50%. Man, I'd have to have a look in my channel, but it's about. So typically, it's 50% of whatever you produce in a year, be it financial or be it your produce on your farm. So they will take 50%. So it's going to leave you heavily impoverished. They could take more. There is a minimum amount, which is typically about 25%. There is an amount they call it. I think, and also they in some cases they will limit it by your financial status. So if you are
So
poor, they charge you 1 dinar, and then it goes up to 3 dinar, up to 12 dinars, which would be the equivalent of like. They even have a dollar amount, in fact, but basically up to 50% of your income, possibly more. Depends how well you negotiate or how vicious they are to you.
so let me repeat. I've stated that multiple times in the past. So what you are agreeing with me that jizya does not have a fixed ruling, unlike when Muslim claims that Muslim has to pay zakat, which is only 2.5% on the saving, not on what they earn, but on the saving what they saved in the last 1 year. That's zakat.
Yeah,
But
there's
when you
there's
are
a
talking
minimum
about
amount. There's
jizya,
no maximum. Yeah.
yeah, but when you talk about jizya, usually the minimum is 50%, 25% of your earning, not on your saving, but on your earning, 25% of your earning, not on your saving, whereas zakat is on your saving and it's not 25%, it's 2.5%. Jazia is 25% on your earning, not on your saving, and it can be any X amount. There is no legal limit of the upper. Is that correct, brother?
If I recall, yes. I'm putting the link in the chat now. So this is part one of my talk on Dimyat and Jizya. It's very detailed. It's very lengthy. It goes into extreme detail on this.
Did I made you a mod so that you can share the link? Because as a not a mod, you cannot share the link.
Okay,
Can you
now I'm
send
not
a
a mod.
text? Can you send a text?
I've just dropped something in the chat, so I'll say hi. Just say my name. There we go.
Just say hi. Okay, so guys, zakat is 2.5% on the annual saving. On the annual saving, brother, you are now the moderator. You have to share the link
Oh,
again.
thanks. Okay. Yeah,
So,
guys, I
guys,
should.
if you want to have more detailed view of this, please watch this Lloyd's session. Any other question, guys? Because it's pretty late for Lloyd, so I need to get him. Like, I need to
Yeah,
let
it
him
is.
go. But like, if
I
any
gotta
other
work
question,
tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so that's it. Look, if you have, drop them in the comments. I'll keep an eye on the comments. Otherwise, anyone can ask me to step up afterwards, and we can talk about this in another show. And but I do expect you to bring the rulings and to actually cite your sources. Show us your sources. I haven't hidden a single source. Everything I've used is linked in the reference. Everything you can find, so you can go look at it and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Every
uh,
single source I've used.
brother Lloyd, I'm sorry to state
Yeah,
again, but you have to share the link again because now you are a moderator. Earlier link did not go through.
yeah, and I did a second time. I did.
Somehow it's not
Drop.
going through. Can you share me in the private chat of the StreamYard and I will share it myself? Because
Okay.
somehow maybe the Google mod is removing it. Oops. Now Lloyd has removed himself. Okay, that happened. That must have happened by mistake. Yep, that must have happened by mistake.
Yeah, that was I clicked the wrong button. My apologies. So this is a link on Dimit and Jizya. There you go.
Okay, private chat. Let me share it to everyone. So, guys, this is the link for Jazia.
Now
Jizya.
that's part
Jazia
one. It'll be a
by
second part. Yeah, there'll be a part
Jazia
two.
by Lloyd. There you go, guys. The link is now in the description so that you can go through it.
Okay.
And so, guys,
So
thank
guys,
you. This is another question. Adam Seeker, if the Quran abrogates the Sunnah and the Sunnah abrogates the Quran, how do you determine which should be abrogated by and which when they contradict? Brother,
the scholars will never tell you that. That's their secret, right? That's their secret. So if you want to know, check the Sharia. The Sharia will so when they make a ruling, they will refer to hadiths or they'll refer to Quran verses. Then you know that those hadiths or those Quran verses are still legit. If it doesn't appear within the Sharia somewhere in any given ruling on a given topic, then you can consider that as abrogated.
perfect. Otherwise, Quran is contradicting itself. Exactly.
Yeah.
Any other question, guys?
I mean,
Uh,
look, honestly, they don't listen to. Look, I've said this many times, but they don't listen to the Quran. If the Qurans all disappeared like this tonight, not a single Quran left on earth, the scholars wouldn't even notice because they don't. The scholars don't read the Hadith; they read the tafsir of the Hadith. The scholars don't read the Quran. That's for the lay Muslims, right? They read the Sharia. They read the scholarly commentaries by the other scholars. Scholars read scholars. They don't read the book itself directly. That's only for dealing with lay Muslims.
and a lay Muslim, when he says to you, I am a Muslim and I follow Quran, he's lying to his bones or he is
Yeah.
ignorant.
I
Either of
showed
the
you
two.
those hadith. I showed you those hadith. Muhammad said one day, lazy Muslims will say, oh, yeah, we follow what's in the Quran, and they will ignore what's in the Sunnah. That's why you call a Sunni Muslim. You follow the Sunnah. You're not a Quran Muslim, you're a Sunni. Sunnah Muslim.
That is why you are Sunni.
Yeah, and the
And
Sharia contradicts itself too, people. Just seriously, it does that as well. So,
okay, there's one more question before we end, I think. What the Quran? Okay, that's not a question. That's a sarcastic comment. Sorry, my bad.
okay.
Okay, guys, thank you so very much. If I don't think I have not missed any question from you guys, but once again, this is not the end of it. I will bring Lloyd on my channel more often. He is doing an excellent job with a flat face. Quite frankly, I don't know why he has a flat face, but he has to he has to show these stuff with more passion, you know. But like
Yeah,
the
no, Quranic Muslims. So, someone has a question: are Quran only Muslims? Quran only Muslims are apostates. Well, they're not necessarily. They don't start necessarily as apostates, but they're certainly corrupt. They are fasik, and then when it gets worse, they eventually are banished and expelled as apostates.
yeah, fasik, you have to define fasik because they don't know the fasik. It's
I
Arabic
mean,
term.
just basically, I mean, just use it as corrupt. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
that's corrupt. They are corrupted. Their minds, their thinking, their knowledge is corrupted. They're following corruption.
Exactly. They are fasiqeen. They are one of the fasiqeen. Allah said in Quran, La yuhibbul fasiqeen. Allah does not love the fasiqeens. That's Quranic as well. So
Mm.
guys, thank you so very much for being here. I have to let Lloyd go. It's pretty
Yeah,
late for him.
yeah, it's getting to
But once
midnight, man.
again,
So,
please subscribe to his channel.
thanks,
Subscribe to his
guys.
channel. Support him. He is doing an excellent, excellent job. And we have to support everyone. Like even though that he does not do like how I do. I am an Easterner, right? If I read, I express. That's how I do. I can laugh, I can cry, I can do all of these things. I am an Easterner. That's how I work. This guy, I think he must be in FBI. When he reads, he has no emotions. He's emotionless when he reads, but he is giving the best of the best knowledge that you will not even get, even if you are doing masters in Islamic studies. You have to go to Al Azhar University to get the knowledge which he is giving. So learn from him, guys.
Romeo
Learn from
says, Adam, let him go to bed already.
him.
That is almost midnight here. I gotta go. I still gotta do some work, and then
All right, brother. God bless you.
I gotta start early tomorrow. But thank you, guys. This has been fantastic. Appreciate being on the channel, guys. Yeah, remember, make jihad on the like button. Beat it until it's blue. All right,
Oh, yes. And I have like a
and
couple of dislikes as well. So Muslims did listen to our session. So that's good. They
yeah,
don't dislike anymore nowadays because they think that when they dislike while we are live streaming, I will know how many dislikes or how many Muslims watched because I
yeah,
caught a few Muslims just on that and I was like, come up live. So they
yeah,
don't dislike while we are streaming, they dislike after we stream.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I haven't yet had one willing to talk to me, not even debate, just to come and talk to me. Not one, not a single one. I'm still trying. I've made invitations, so let's see if someone actually does come and just talk to me. I'm going to read the rulings and we'll discuss. And no
Amen.
one wants
Amen.
to.
And by the way, guys, he's not like me. Like me, I get passionated. I am angry. I am whatever you may like to call it because you guys call me all of these things. So fair enough. This guy, man, come on, go talk to him. And I will come in. I will join in. I will definitely join in with him because I will
Yeah,
show you from my perspective as well. And my perspective is his perspective as well. But Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord.
guys. Yeah,
Jesus is
yeah.
Lord. He came, and there is nothing like this in the teaching of our Lord Jesus Christ. Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing like him. If you want to see the comfort, that's in Bible. If you want to see love, that's the God of Bible. If you want to see passion, that's the God of Bible.
Yeah.
If you want to see fear, that's the God of Islam. The
Yeah.
God of
True.
Islam runs
Is
through
the God who
fear.
hates. He's the God who hates.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
20 verses that I've shown, which says he does not love X, he does not love Y, he does not love Z, he does not love etc. etc. But what did God of Bible says? He so loved the world that he sent his only begotten son, who took the sins upon him, and he was made sin when he committed no sin. And he died on the cross for us. And then he showed to the world that I have the authority and the power over death. And he rose up. That's the true God. No other religion in the entire world where the God himself had did this much for his creation. No other world,
Mm.
no other religion in the entire world where the God did to this extent for his creation. That he would come and dwell in his creation, get stabbed and beaten by the creation, so that he could give the salvation to the creation and show the world how to live the life. And that is why we are called Christians, because we are follower of Christ.
Yeah.
That's the true message which Muhammad derogatorized.
We should go into the Sirah and then show people how Muhammad is the divine being, how Muhammad becomes counterfeit Jesus, how in the Sirah Muhammad is a divine being. You know, he replaces Jesus, he becomes the counterfeit Jesus. It's crazy stuff. Crazy
That will
stuff.
be really good, because I actually did a comparison between Jesus and the black stone of Kaaba in 13 points,
Yeah.
because so this will be also very good, so we can actually do that. This is Momo.
Yeah. So guys, yeah, I really but it's late. It's nearly midnight. I seriously have a hard day tomorrow. Got
so
work
so
first thing
before
early in
we
the morning.
go, you have to do one thing. You have to follow me and state this sentence: Yeshua
Yeshua
Akbarul Azim.
Akbarul Azim. Yeshua Akbarul Azim.
Amen. God bless you guys. Take care. Bye bye.